Hey everybody, good morning, good afternoon and good evening. Welcome to this week's live RGV Aerial Photography's deep dive into images he captured this week from the air and on the ground at Starbase, Texas. We have Maurizio himself, plus Golden Boy and Grandpa Joe to guide us through all the latest updates, changes and theories from Starbase, Texas. Over to you, Maurizio.
Hello, everybody. This is Mauricio with RGV Aerial Photography. I'm the photographer, and I've been documenting Starbase since 2018. Welcome back to our episode 3 of Starbase Flyover Review. I'll be passing this over to Zach and Grandpa Joe.
Before we get started, who was that guy, Grandpa Joe? That with the intro?
That was our friend Jeff from Great Britain. Thank you very much, Jeff, for the lovely intro and voiceover.
I don't know if he's from Great Britain. I think he might actually be Scottish.
It's part of the Greater Kingdom.
You are right. Well, thank you guys for joining us today, and thank you, Jeff, for that amazing intro. I'm actually planning a trip to Scotland here soon, so I can get myself an accent and then come back and re-record all of our streams like Taylor Swift. So before we get started today, thank you guys for joining all of us. Today is going to be our third review of Mauricio's Flyovers. Actually, last week we did ground photos, so I guess this will be our second one. But yeah, today we are actually going to go over not only the aerial photos, but also ground photos as time kind of permits. But yeah, so I think we'll get started with the aerial photos. And last time we did a little bit of a vote to figure out which area we wanted to start in, but I think this time we might just go ahead and start at Sanchez and work our way around. So without further ado,
Sounds like a plan. And before we get started too fast, big shout out to the production team. There are a lot of people helping us out on Discord, and we really can't thank everybody enough who's helping to make this stream come off a success.
yeah, definitely. I don't know, Mauricio, do you want to talk? Do you want to mention your production team members?
Let's see here. So we have you, Grandpa Joe, Zach. We got Jay. We got Jax. Procky. Procky does our labels for the flyovers. I think you can show some of his work later on during the stream here. We got Felix, and I know you have someone as well. I don't know if you can introduce him as well. If I missed anybody.
Yeah, definitely. So right now we have, I'm going to give a really special shout out to Max Q. A lot of you guys might know him, and this guy is really fast at sending, pictures that we're looking for. So if we are going to get into ground photos, it's going to be all on Max Q to make that happen. That's a lot of pressure. Sorry, Max Q.
We
The
believe
second-
them, though.
I do as well. And also, she's not here with us today, but I wanted to give a special shout out to Indian Star. She is a huge member of our team, and a lot of the stuff that we do really wouldn't happen without her. So if you guys appreciate this, I would give a thanks to Indian Star, Max Q, and the rest of the team in the chat. They put a lot of work behind the scenes in order to make this happen, and we actually have some more stuff coming on the way too. So just want to point out who those people are that are involved in making that stuff happen.
Yep. And the biggest shout out of all goes to Mauricio, the eye in the sky, the man who put himself into a plane to get us all these amazing pictures. Thank you, Mauricio. I appreciate it personally, and I know we all do as a community.
Yes,
Yeah.
and thank you. Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody that's involved. That especially for the most part, Patreon members, YouTube members. If you want to support these flights, they are pretty expensive. We do them once a week, and I want to say thanks to all of you for supporting me and allowing me to do this.
Yeah, was there any special about this flyover in particular that you want to talk about? I mean, I'm noticing the clouds right away.
Right. So, we've talked about this before, and it's always one of those things where you can't really predict the weather that well on the coast. There's not a weather report that's really accurate out there, and you really can't find out until you get there. So you get there, and as you can see, there's quite a few clouds. So we had to be playing like per se peekaboo with the clouds, and
Dodging the clouds to get the great pictures.
right. We just had to I guess wait for the clouds to dissipate and get a good view of the site there. It's happened a couple of times. It's nothing new. At least we got some shots out of it,
So do you just basically keep flying, and wherever you see holes in the clouds, you start taking pictures of?
Right. So we're pretty much just hanging out, flying around, enjoying the view, and waiting for the clouds to move, anticipating when the clouds will move away from the site. And you kind of have to plan it out, but it's not that difficult. We just have the thing about that is you have to be playing around for a long time without doing anything. So
sounds like you got to have a strong neck as well too, so you can be looking left and right trying to figure out where the gaps are.
Right. So we got a good vantage point. We're close to 11,000 feet, and we get to see all the gaps in the clouds. We're probably 5,000 feet above the clouds at this point. So we got a pretty good vantage point of that.
Well, it's definitely a great view either way, as long as you're able to, I mean, it sucks that lately, especially this time of year, we're going to get like fog pretty much every single day until I think March 30th at least. We the last day that I remember fog last year was after SN11 flight, and it was like the clouds cleared for the rest of the year after that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't get why they couldn't wait one more day unless they were trying to purposely test some FTS. But yeah. So before we get started, we have some new members. Let's talk to. We've got Senti. Thank you, Senti, for joining. We have Stephanie Ball. Thank you, Stephanie Ball. Good to see you here. Yazada, welcome, RGV flight supporter. And we just got a $4.99 donation from Rocket. Thank you, Rocket. Rocket is a person who DMs me all the time because he knows that I don't really mind that kind of stuff, and he always has lots of interesting stuff to say. So thank you, Rocket. I'm glad you're here. Let's see. Where do we go from here?
Well,
Let's hop in.
Before we move forward, I just want to say that those people, everybody that's been donating and becoming a member, just check the community post. The Dropbox folder for all these photos that we're going to be going through, they're going to be there, so you can just follow along and, download the files yourself. So if you guys want to check out those photos, just become a member. And if not, you just follow along with us here.
Yep, I actually just became a member on our first review, and I have been loving all the Dropbox photos. So thank you, Mauricio. Those are great resource. All right, what are we looking at here, Zach? Looks like Sanchez from above.
Yeah, so this is our, I actually divided these pictures up by location, but I do think this is the first shot of the day. So, like I said, it was a cloudy day, and there was just so much to see from this view, and I'm glad that this is where he started out at. Honestly, Sanchez is where I kind of like to start out too. It's where you enter in on the highway. You really can't enter Starbase without passing this. So, whether you're like Mauser, who was never going to go past the high bay when you visit Starbase, or you're like me and you always want to go to the launch site, you have to pass Sanchez in order to get there. And lately, they've been using this to store a lot of very interesting things. I mean, what are you seeing, Grandpa Joe?
Oh, the first thing that catches my eye is, of course, the air separation unit. That's been my recent passion. But no, yep, they have the Starship storage. They have the Max Q test cage, and just plenty of new items are sticking out.
Yeah, one of the newest items I think that stands out the most, probably these guys over here. So, while most of us were really busy this week watching everything that was happening with the launch mount and Ship 20 for the most part, actually another big one was the berm. We watched a lot of berm get removed this week. So while all of that stuff was happening over at the Sanchez site, these two tanks got delivered, and they are actually identical to the two that are down here. They're the exact same size, and I don't know. There's a few different options for what these can be used for, and I don't know. I feel like there's actually only three options. Grandpa Joe or
Sure.
Mauricio, do you guys have any ideas?
The first option that would come to mind would be to expand the capabilities of the air separation unit. Right now, they're having to either produce oxygen or nitrogen, for the most part, one at a time. If they expand and add tanks there, they could produce both oxygen and nitrogen at the same time, because right now one's just a waste product. But they do need a lot of both, and it's a much shorter distance when produced here. It's much more efficient to produce it here. The other option is that they need a lot more methane storage down at the launch site. They actually don't have almost enough methane storage to do one complete fill up of a Starship and booster. And if they have any loss, they'll definitely won't have enough. So they do need more there. The third option I haven't thought of. What were you thinking of, Zach?
Well, just to touch back on some of the ones you talked about, if these are destined for the air separation plant, so we have two larger tanks over here already. These can be pretty much divided up to hold any of the byproducts that are produced here. So that would be nitrogen, oxygen, and argon as far as the three largest ones. And more than likely, they're probably using one for liquid nitrogen, one for liquid oxygen, and the third one can do either. They all can do either, but they're probably playing mix and match with those combinations. And so one option that Grandpa Joe mentioned is increasing the capacity over here. And that would basically allow them to store more liquid oxygen for longer and not have to run the air separation plant in a like emergency mode, essentially, where you're producing it as you need it. You can actually produce it slower over a longer period of time and store it up. And when you need to take 200 trucks and transfer that liquid oxygen or liquid nitrogen in between here in the orbital tank farm very quickly, then you have all of that available. You're not waiting for the air separation the air separation unit to make more of it as you're trying to transfer it. So that is one option. The problem with that option is they're not preparing any land over here for that. Like
No,
there's
they're
no
not.
space for these tanks to go. And SpaceX is always preparing land, in my opinion. When things like this show up, I personally believe this is an emergency purchase. And in the event of an emergency purchase, you're going to start moving dirt or whatever you need to do pretty much immediately, maybe even before they show up, in order to be able to place them as quickly as possible. And there's not anything around here that looks like that. I mean, there is some new construction. I'll skip over that for now. Let's talk about the third choice. The third choice involves these three large scrubber columns. That's not the right word for them, but essentially these are used in the process of purifying liquid nitrogen. Sorry, not liquid nitrogen.
Liquid natural
liquid
gas?
natural gas. Yes. Same syllables, I feel like. Or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
And liquid natural gas, what is that? That's natural gas mined from the earth and contains.
Right. So usually, there do exist wells that only produce natural gas. They are rare. They tend to exist close to coal mines, and there are also oil and gas wells, which are most of them. And so part of pulling out oil and gas is that you separate them into two different things. So the gas part is what is natural gas, and usually they will send that to a facility to separate it out into its individual components, and that can include butane, propane, methane, ethane. There's tons of different byproducts of natural gas, and these are part of what is used to separate those out. In the case of what we're doing here, and I'm not 100% sure on this, they could either separate them out or they can remove the other components. I'm not 100% sure on how that system works, but one thing that we do know is it requires an input of liquid natural gas or compressed natural gas and an output of liquid methane, and that's it. There is a second option. The second option is gaseous methane. But if you're outputting gaseous methane, then you also have to build a pipeline to the tank farm at the launch site and have another facility there to process that gaseous methane and turn it into a liquid. So one way or another, you're going to be storing liquid somewhere. So if a facility like that is going to be constructed, you might need pre-processing storage and you might need post-processing storage. And these could easily be used for that. And so could these ones, not this one, these three right here can be used for that as well. Actually, no, I think that one can be as well. There's a similar one at the tank farm. So with that being said, I mean, the ground here is being prepared pretty drastically for something to happen here. Let's move to a not cloudy image.
And on those blue tanks, someone very recently told me, and this was enlightening, inside of them, liquid flows, and as the natural gas goes through them, oh, great picture there. As the natural gas flows through the liquid, it scrubs out some of the impurities, depending on what liquid you use, what temperature, how many times, and produces a higher purity methane. And the Raptor engines need an exact purity of methane in order to operate efficiently and to operate safely. So that's vital to the operations. And I think we had a question from observationist: will SpaceX be able to produce their own methane at Starbase? And there are
Oh,
two
yeah, here we go.
components. Yeah, and here we go. There's your answer: is yes. They may be using natural gas either piped in or trucked in. Um, but after they have natural gas, they will be using this method to produce the bulk of the purified methane. And they will be using the Sabatier process on Mars, but it's unlikely that they'll be using it on Earth at scale.
Luckily, MaxQ has just. This is why we. This is
Excuse the best.
Yeah, man. So this is an actual diagram of what these absorption columns look like, and unfortunately, it's slightly pixelated, but we're going to be able to explain it anyways. I want to make sure that I understand this fully before I talk about it.
Yeah. Well, the
So
solution comes
basically,
from
what
the
you're doing
front.
right here is I could be explaining this wrong, but I think usually some of these, they put a reactant or a fluid flows down as the gas is flowing up, and that reactant will react with the gas as they're passing each other inside of this packing. So this is like almost like, imagine a sponge. Like they put a whole bunch of sponges here, and they put the purification or whatever liquid through that sponge while the gas is going up. They're going to have to interact with each other, and whatever reaction takes place during that interaction is going to come out with clean gas out here. So that's basically the point of these things, is to purify natural gas into methane. And sorry for butchering that explanation, but I'm not a petroleum engineer, so
Nor am I, but I think that's a pretty good explanation.
I have worked in the petroleum industry, but I am not a petroleum engineer. So one of the really big things I also am noticing in this, you know what? I'll talk about it now. So this truck right here actually is carrying some interesting looking objects. GBJ, do you know what these are?
The transport rings, or I'm sorry.
On the truck right here.
Oh, no, I do not. What are those, Zach?
Those are actually being pulled from this pile right here. And this pile is the jigs that were used to construct the tower sections. Was it 9 tower sections of the orbital launch integration tower? So they had, I think, 5 jigs that they set up. These are the cross beams for them. They're similar over here. That's what they built the tower sections on top of. And so these have been sitting here basically since the last tower section was completed. And now all of a sudden they're moving it.
No.
Why? I don't. I mean, I have some theories. They're pretty wild. I mean, there's one easy theory. You just want to clear this area because whatever facility that they're trying to build requires this space. The second option is that they're about to build a launch tower in Florida at KSC.
Mhm.
So
Well-
they're moving everything that is required to build that launch tower down to that facility in order to do what they did here, just duplicate it.
We do have
quickly.
some nearby storage over at Massey, so it may be there, but also there is a third option that they are possibly gearing up to build the planned second orbital launch tower down here at Boca. Though that I would say is probably a bit of a stretch. But it is in the environmental assessment plan to have a second operational tower here. So we know at some point probably in the future, they will have a second launch tower. Elon Musk, I believe, has said that he hopes to have that by late 2022 or early 23 on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm gonna
If somebody
speculate even further and say that these things are gonna travel down to Kennedy Space Center.
Mhm.
I've seen recent pictures showing that they're already drilling the pilings for the legs of the new launch mount. So that's gonna be shortly followed by building that actual launch tower. So in my opinion, I think that one of the ways to quickly get operational in KSC is to move all of this equipment that you're gonna need in order to start launching and building vehicles down there. You construct it at Starbase and you transport it down there in order to quickly get operational. You don't have to build a fabrication facility. You don't have to build all these transport stands right here. Why are all these transport stands here? I don't know. Are they going to move them down to KSC? Or are we going to have, you know, four Starship lawn ornaments at the same time at all times? Like, which one are they preparing for? It's pretty, I mean,
I think they're
here's a
gonna-
fourth one. Fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 Starship transport stands and more room right here for another 6 Starship transport stands. So we're either going to have 6 lawn ornaments at a time, or potentially, I mean, it'd be very tough to move these, honestly, in this state. They would have been better off building them down there.
Agreed. And I'll go
I'm
out
going
on
to
a limb
retract
here.
that. They're going to have 6 lawn ornaments.
Exactly. I think
Yeah.
that's only the beginning. I think they'll go far higher than 6 at a time, and once they really dial in their production, it's going to be many starships. So
Hey
Just
guys,
hanging out.
yeah,
hey guys, just thought I'd touch on this. There's already survey marks behind the launch site towards the south of it, so don't be surprised if there's going to be some activity picking up there in the next, next year or so, for the second launch tower. So I mean, these things might actually be used for,
oh,
you know,
wow.
for the Starbase one. I've been out there taking photos and I've seen the survey marks
In the
and
dirt,
yeah,
over
towards
off screen.
right. I'm not sure how long they've been there for. Maybe they've been there for a while, but I know that SpaceX security does kind of keep an eye out on that area just because of that, you
Right.
know. So I'm not sure if they acquired the land yet or they're in the process of doing that. So, but I can confirm those survey marks are for SpaceX.
Interesting.
And Zach, can you comment? Is all of the Sanchez plant area owned by SpaceX, or are there any plots of land that are still privately held?
Pretty sure that none of it's owned by SpaceX. Man, I don't know 100% who the owner is, so I'm not going to say it. I think it might be Dallas Petroleum, but I don't know for sure. I'm from my understanding, SpaceX does not own this land.
Oh, okay.
So while we're here, actually, I just got reminded of something else that happened this week. So as I was talking about the possible expansions of a methane purification plant here, part of that may be, finding or creating a way of distributing all of the power that's being produced by these generators if they're not using it all to run the air separation plant. So by, it looks to me like they're preparing. We have I think this is a step down transformer right here coming out of the generator facility. So they're sending that power somewhere, not sure where, and I haven't really figured out where it's exactly going. I have a feeling it has something to do with the new facility that we're expecting, but we're gonna have to wait a few more weeks to see where that one goes. But one of the big things I noticed immediately a few days ago when I was looking at this is this little stand that they've been placing right here.
Place to store some more natural gas, perhaps?
I think we'll skip ahead in this and let me find that picture really quick. So what they did earlier this week, a lot of people may have noticed that they moved Starship serial number 2 off of its original mount. It is placed on this mount for a very long time. And earlier this week, they actually took it off and moved it to the Sanchez site. And this is actually where they ended up moving it to. I think Mauricio actually captured a picture of it as it was happening. I'm just trying to search for the right one.
And while you're searching for that, let me tackle a couple of quick questions from the YouTube chat. Question number one, can they extract helium? Helium, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Golden Boy, helium can be extracted and purified from natural gas. However,
No.
SpaceX is not doing that. They're
Mm,
buying it commercially.
I could be wrong on this one, but I think that if you're delivering liquid natural gas somewhere, the helium's already been extracted from it usually.
Yeah, no, but in commercial processes, that's where helium originally comes from, is it is purified from natural gas and then sold to entities such as SpaceX. But SpaceX is not extracting their own helium. They're buying it.
Exactly. Yep.
Is sulfur the main contaminant of liquid natural gas?
I don't think so. I think sulfur.
There is a sulfur component that is added to home use natural gas to help
To
you
make
smell
sure that you
it.
smell it. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I was going to Google it first just to be sure because, the comments will get active very quickly if I say the wrong thing.
Now,
Um,
there's one way to get fact checked real quick, and that's to speak
yes,
your mind.
exactly. Sulfur is an additive in most natural gases, and it's like you said, purely for making sure that you smell it. Because if not, you might not smell it until it's too late. So that's why they
Okay.
do that. But getting back on topic, this is very interesting to me because this took a lot of effort what they just did here. So these these concrete bases are the exact same ones that are these are the first versions of the ones that are used at the orbital tank farm. So they built two here. These were the first versions that they ever built. So instead of building another one of these wherever this is about to go, they had to use a saw to cut all of the rebar out of the base and completely free this base in order to move it, transport it out.
It's a lot of effort.
Yeah, there's a lot of effort. I don't fully understand that one yet. It may come to me soon. But one thing that I want to point out here, Starship Gazer posted a picture this week as he was sitting outside of the high bay or the wide bay, and he showed a convoy of these white trucks coming in.
What do you think they were bringing in?
Oh well, dirt, which I hate. I hate that we're adding dirt instead of taking it away. But as long as it goes to building up their property line, I'm all for it. A lot of people were kind of speculating that this was where they were taking the dirt from the berm. But if you guys get on Lab Padre Cam at all, like Rover 2.0, all day today, you will see red trucks entering the launch site and exiting the launch site. And they're carrying all of the dirt that they use to remove those berms. And those trucks are not coming here to dump their load. These are different. This is new dirt. The old dirt is leaving Starbase. It's not being dumped here. So
There's
this
actually, I can say firsthand, more or less where they're going. They're going down the side, down Highway 4. The reason I know this is because when I leave the site after taking photos, you'll see those same trucks going into a detour down by, I want to say it's closer to where the checkpoint is at. If you've been out there, you know where that's at.
Mm-hmm. So Mauricio, do you have any speculation on what they might be building on this new dirt extension that they're adding?
Well, I can't. Well, there's also they've been taking out. This is probably something probably similar, or now that we're talking about, they're expanding the road to Macy's as well. So they might, that's one thing as well that they're doing. They're expanding it. They're making it bigger. The road that's been
Oh yeah,
leading up to Macy's. So I've taken photos of that too.
and let's really hope that they're strengthening the road as well. We all know that the whenever they're moving the boosters or starships, that the road does take a lot of abuse from the SMTPs, the movers. They definitely weigh that road down a lot, and they have done a lot of construction. Just asphalt roads were not built to take starships running over them left and right.
Definitely not. Nor 200-ton tower sections. So to the interesting thing about this is I mean, well, there's a lot of things here, but in my mind is the shape of the property that is being constructed here and the proximity of another important structure that's over here. So they could be doing several things. They could just be, I don't know, I mean, increasing the amount of junkyard space that they have so that they can continue to scrap things as they overdevelop themselves in their I mean, they're definitely overdeveloping. Like Booster 5, as far as most of us are concerned, might as well be scrapped because they're moving on to 33 engine boosters. So if they're going to continue to overdevelop that like that, then they're going to need a little bit more, a larger of a junkyard. However, I think that this is not really the best place for that. And something that would go better here is another one of these fabrication tins.
Absolutely.
So if I was SpaceX and I had a new wide bay that I was building right here, I would probably remove this structure and everything else over here. I don't know if they own this part yet. They don't, I don't think. But they do own this rectangle right here. So one thing that they can do is, oh man, this building's going to complicate that. Remove everything that's here and construct one or two more tents side by side so that you can put all of your booster production inside of 2 tents instead of trying to do booster, starship, nose cone, and store Raptors in these 3 tents. They need another tent ASAP. And I think this is where they're going to put it.
Humor me for a second. I think they could actually have just enough room to leave the smaller white tent down there and build a large tent
Next to it.
next to it down there, and that
Yeah.
may be part of the reason why they're removing the concrete stands. Is that's where the next fabrication tent's going to go. What do
Yeah.
they make in those fabrication tents, Zach?
These, which ones?
Those right there, the larger ones.
So in this one, most of the nose cone the nose cone sections and the nose cone barrels are done in this tent.
It's got that great garage right on the front of it too.
Yeah, so they can just we had a good video this week actually of them cycling stuff in and out, but I'm not gonna be able to pull that up quick enough. So in the one next to it, they usually do just barrel sections. Actually, in both of them, both of these 2 tents, they produce all of the barrel sections for every starship and booster are done in those 2 tents. And at least a few months ago, they were storing right in this front corner of this tent all of their Raptor engines. And so that was kind of lost for production space. So you lost that corner, and all the booster and starship production is happening within these 2 tents, and only nose cones, as far as I know.
It really is
are
amazing
in this
with
tent.
even with their limited space, how
That's
much
probably
they're
right.
able to rapidly produce. It's pretty amazing. And one of their first buildings, that triangular building at the top of the screen, I believe we used to call it Iron Hinge, but the low bay. That's where they stack the nose on top of the first nose cone barrel section, and from there it goes on to finish out assembly. Also, of interesting note is they're utilizing robots more and more to weld the rings and to add the studs on which the heat shield tiles are going to be attached.
Yeah, we'll see if Mauricio found any pictures of that being delivered this week. If Max Q happens to see any of them in the ground photos, we'll show him. I want to take a step back to Sanchez for a second. And like
This
I
is
said,
the power production plant.
right. So that base for SN2 is now here. SN2 is now on top of this, which means they're using it for either water or some other kind of storage for either this facility or something that will go in this area. Just want to make sure that we're not missing any other things at Sanchez. I think those are the most important items.
That's the air separation up top, and
You know what?
yeah.
I wanna throw a little shade. Um, the time that it's taking for SpaceX to do some of these operations is causing them to have to store things in areas that they really don't want to. Like they brought these things here not to be like prepared ahead of time because they really truly thought they were gonna be installing them because these are better stored at the yard that they came from, because if they're at the yard that they came from, then you don't have to assume liability of any damage that happens to them when they're on your property. So
And
by
move 'em
bringing these
around.
things to their property, they now are exposed to wind damage as these things are sitting here. And you can see, we talked about this last week, I think, the way that some of these have been blown around. And I mean, yeah, they might be able to flatten these out. But I don't know how these two things are doing. Who knows? There's other things that were tossed around in here. Like this is a byproduct of change of plans, in my opinion.
They
You end up
ordered
having to store things like there are things that they do temporarily put here as a stockpile so they can move it to like the wide bay, for example. Like all of this material up here is meant for the wide bay, but that is not the case for the stuff that's down here. These are
it
things.
is
All of this
it
stuff
is
used to be at the launch site, and now it's not.
and from the word on the street, the operations manager for Starbase does not like storing a lot of anything unnecessary down at the launch site. But as you know, with supply chain and logistics, it's really tough to get some items, and they struggle to react quickly and order all the needed supplies. And sometimes they may overreach and plan ahead and get items early, just so that they know they can have them. And it's a constant daily struggle but big hats off to all the supply chain experts out there that are making this stuff happen for SpaceX. They're able to pivot very, very quickly.
Yeah, I definitely have a lot of respect for those guys. I don't really understand how they pull off some of the stuff that they
I know
do,
it's magic.
but they do. So, one of the things that that's funny. I think my
appears we've
my
lost
video was
Zach for a
actually like
moment.
present on the stream, and if that happened, you guys got lucky. I might start doing that soon, but I'm not really. It's okay. It's okay. You guys got to see what my lovely room looks like.
So,
I actually cleaned it
Mauricio,
earlier today. Sorry.
we're looking at here. Zach, your mic is muted, by the way.
Really? You can't hear me? Hello?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I was about to say, I thought so. I can hear myself. Maybe Grandpa Joe's having some technical difficulties. We'll wait for him to come back. Now we're at the build site. Was my video streaming that whole time? That'd be really cool. I don't know if anybody went to Crowfest, but I actually ended up having to stream my cell phone screen like for an hour and a half at Crowfest. It was awesome. So
That
just
great.
happened again. I don't mind it.
Sorry for the technical difficulties. Only I lost audio. I think everybody else was okay. Sorry if I talked over you.
All right, welcome back, Grandpa Joe.
Thank you.
Irides said, "At least you were clothed." Yeah, I am a responsible adult. So, continuing on, looking at Mauser's favorite area, the high bay, where actually today they lifted Booster 7 in the fog to further stack the LOX tank. And I'm not 100% sure why they would do that, because I think the only remaining section would be the thrust section. Could be wrong. And usually they don't do that until they're ready to do the full stack, but maybe their procedures have changed. And you know what? I think we need to take a second to acknowledge all the new members and everything that's happened within this time. So let's start up top. I don't think we addressed Texas Outlaw. So Texas Outlaw, thank you for becoming a RGV flight supporter. Jacqueline, thank you for becoming an RGV flight supporter as well. I always call Jacqueline J. Quillen. If you guys don't know that joke, like, I can't help you. We have Julian Richards. Thank you. And I think that might be the last one. So and just to correct something I was saying earlier, it looks like the aft section number 5 ring is what they stacked on B7 inside of the high bay today. And I don't know if that one's on screen right now. That may be this one.
I think it's that one. That brings it to a total of 20 sections of the oxygen tank, which is the lower half of the ship, and they have to put that on the next 3 ring section, which is the thrust puck or the thrust section, and that has the pipe manifold that connects to the downcomer, and that'll be I believe the last part that gets attached to the bottom of that.
So what's special about this new booster?
It has 33 engines, and they are going to be Raptor 2 engines, which have a slightly different mount and a lot of improvements. It's their production engine.
So a week has gone by since the last time we talked about this, Grandpa Joe, and I think we talked about the fact that nobody's ever seen a Raptor 2. Like, we've allegedly heard what they sound like, thanks to great people like Reagan Beck and others that are down there. But we've never actually seen one. They just
No,
talk
and
about it, and they say that, yeah, this is all Raptor 2s, but they won't show us what they look like. Why haven't a single Raptor truck shown up from McGregor in the last 3 months? You know, what's the secret?
oh wow, yeah, that is
Maybe one
true.
day we'll get Elon on the show and he'll explain to us why they do these things. But for now, I guess we'll just keep speculating.
Is
Um,
now the time? Should we formally invite Elon Musk to join us for a flyover review?
yeah, we have to agree from the audience that they're not gonna like annoy him with TFR questions. You guys, that's just standard practice. They have no choice. If he's gonna come here, we all have to agree that we're not gonna ask Elon TFR questions unless
That's
he's willing to
right.
talk about it. So, yeah, Elon, if you wanna hop on our show and learn about some of the ways that operations at your facility are actually going when you're doing all the other important things that you're doing, we might could review this stuff together. You know, I'd be happy to do that.
Me too.
So back to the wider bay or higher bay, maybe,
Or both.
or both. I think a lot of people think that this is not going to be taller than the other one, but what do you think? I
They're
don't know.
They are very limited. It is just barely possible to stack a booster of its current height inside the high bay. And if they go to a higher bay, they will be able to stack higher, and that gives them additional capabilities to launch higher loads to orbit. You can have more delta V, more change in velocity in the lower in the booster section. That allows you to have a heavier upper section, the stage 2 of the Starship. And right now they're capped out at 69 meters, and that may be all they ever need and all they ever want. But building this up higher will definitely give them more leeway, more comfort for lifting, more capabilities.
I was
So
actually, yeah, sorry to interrupt you there, Grandpa
no,
Joe.
please.
No, when I was out there at the site, I ran into a couple of workers, but I kind of just asked them, how tall will it be? I was throwing around the number 300 feet, but don't quote me on that yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
So,
think Elon said that the wide bay was going to be 100 meters tall during his Starbase interview with EDA. And yeah, I think that the picture that you made on Twitter is actually fairly accurate to what it should look like. And I don't know if everybody's seen that yet, but maybe MaxQ can find that. In the meantime, this is really exciting. The way that they do this, they're far more efficient than they were with the first high bay.
Lots
I
of
take that
lesson
back.
learned.
They actually did that one pretty quick too. Other than the roof section, so they put the roof on before they put the most important part of the entire structure, which was the bridge crane. I'm really hoping that we don't do that this time, guys. Like,
Yeah. I had heard that there were a lot of upset feelings from the SpaceX side towards the contractor of the high bay that it could have been done faster, better. On the contractor's defense, it was very windy out there that year. They had a lot of days where they couldn't lift sections. So, as much as we like to push hard and go fast and break things, you have to have safety first. And lifting these heavy loads with a lot of wind shear on them is very dangerous, and you have to be very careful and have the right conditions for lifts, and that can really delay things. So,
Yeah. And one of the ways that they get around this is at least the setup process. They will do the setup process in the wind occasionally. Most recently, they were actually connecting to this section right here, as you can see. So this is the first one that happened this week, and I don't know if you guys follow me or Mauricio or Grandpa Joe on Twitter. If not, our links are on the bottom of the page, I believe. I can't see it, but they're on the bottom of the page. So what they did earlier this week is, and this is generally how the operations go with this crane, is they lift up these sections, and then they'll, if necessary, they'll lift them above the section behind it, and then they'll set it back on the ground as this crane. This is Bucky. His name is Buckner. We call him Bucky because he was the first Buckner crane that was out here, and we named him. We, as the Nerdle community, named him Bucky. So Bucky faces this direction, and then walks forward inside of the building with this section. So every single time he lifts a section, it comes. Actually, I think the two front sections he does from outside the building, but all of the other ones, it actually, and this is why they have the cribbing here, has to turn around. And usually people are probably going to be on the ground making sure that this is turned sideways so that I can slide through here. And they will walk slowly with that crane all the way to the end of this cribbing. And then at that point, they can lift it up. And I am noticing all of you guys' questions. And Jim Cabot, thank you for becoming a member. We're going to try and get to them. I think our question bot is a little bit broken. And as I said, we're missing an important member of our staff today who's especially good at paying attention to these questions that are coming in. So sorry if we miss any of your guys' questions. I'm actually going to let GPJ take over and scroll back up through these and see what we have missed.
Sure. The first question's for you, Zach. What photo viewer app are you using for the live stream?
Photo viewer?
What
The
are you
wrong
using?
one. The wrong one. I just full screened it. Jax, edit that out. Anyways, yeah, I'm using the wrong one. I'm still trying to figure things out on the fly. Like I do that with pretty much everything, like I have goals and I just use what I have to make them happen. And they're not always the right solution, and this is not the right solution. The fact that my mouse looks like I'm trying to give everybody a high five, it just makes no sense. Like,
well,
I'm going to work on that. But
everybody,
if you have suggestions for what I need to use, I would definitely appreciate that, honestly.
Tag Golden Boy and give him your suggestions.
No, DM me on Discord. I respond to all DMs on Discord, so you can just DM me on Discord and or on Twitter, actually. That's even better. And yeah, we can talk about it.
Next question is for you, Mauricio. Have you flown over the old shooting range, Massey's? Is there any progress there?
As a matter of fact, we flew over this flyover, so I think there should be some photos in this particular gallery. I'm not sure if you checked them out, Zach or Grandpa
Well, you already
Joe.
know, sir. All day.
Sure.
This
All right,
here is Massey's gun range. This is where SpaceX employees go out to take out their anger after they have to review all of the comments that everybody makes on Lab Padres live streams. Oh, these guys aren't working fast enough. Why haven't they done the static fire? They don't like hearing it, so they come to the gun range and take out their anger. And they also bring other equipment down here at the same time. So what other things do we have stored here? GPJ, you see anything cool? If not, I do.
He's having audio issues there. I don't
That
know.
is totally fine.
Pardon me,
But-
1 second.
Well, while we wait for Grandpa Joe here, one thing, I don't know if you want to zoom out just a little bit. That berm that's right there, it wasn't like that at the beginning. They narrowed it down. It used to be at a, I guess, 90-degree angle. Right now it's at a 45-degree angle if you look at it straight on.
How long ago was that changed, do you think?
Ooh,
I
that
can
was
pull up
about,
one.
that's gonna have to be, you're gonna have to go back to the first flyover.
This is November 30th.
No, it's gonna have to be further back. Probably about the first flyover I did there.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm
Probably,
organized enough for that right now, to tell
yeah,
you the
probably
truth.
September. Right. So just take my word for it. So
I take your word for it. I mean, you're the one flying over
yeah.
it every day. So anything else that you noticed here?
And well, there's been a lot of activity picking up there. I mean, not that much activity, but if you see at the top right corner, you can see some vehicles, uh, SpaceX, and they actually already placed a sign saying no trespassing. And obviously the antenna tower. Oh, if you zoom in, you can actually see the antenna tower already installed on top. It wasn't like that on the previous one,
Right here.
right? You see that on top?
Yep.
The cell phone. What is that? A cell phone tower? No.
I believe this is why AT&T gets the best service in the area. And they did not pay me for this. But if you're going to go down to Starbase and become a live streamer, you're probably going to need AT&T in order to do it. One of the things I noticed as well is like, these are the perlite bags, right? From the failed methane tanks. They were pretty much storing these things all over the place. Here's some more of them. And until they get those things fixed or repurpose them, they cannot seal those tanks in with this insulation. So they're just pretty much putting everything that isn't of use out here. There's tons of stuff. There's these are high pressure cryo lines right here. These are kind of looking like water lines. And one of the big things that I noticed is
Little hippo.
a hippo.
That
Welcome back,
is.
Grandpa Joe.
Thank you for having me back. So yeah, that is the oxygen or methane cooler. They'll flow nitrogen through there, and either they don't have use for it down at the launch pad, or my personal theory is they have said that they would like to test Raptors out here. So they would need some storage and some cooling.
You're a
So
genius. Why haven't you told me that? You're keeping that to yourself?
maybe I got to keep a
Withholding
couple
information?
things.
Dang.
But yeah, Elon has said he'd like to test Raptors out there, or to at least repair them out there after between launches.
Right. I heard about
So
that too. I'm not sure if it was did Elon actually say that, or was it based on speculation? I've heard about it
No,
too, but
Elon did say something to that effect, and I will say that you can't take everything Elon says as gospel. You have to give it a little bit of a grain of truth, because Elon is very aspirational, but he's also very flexible. So if he comes up with a good idea and then later comes up with a better idea, he is no stranger to change.
Ranger to changer. So for those who don't know what we were talking about with the hippos, this is what they look like from another angle. These are basically used to a really good way of describing this actually is that you're shrinking the size of the liquid oxygen and the liquid methane molecules, that you can fit more of them in the booster. So this is what they do. Like, this is where they do that. They put liquid nitrogen inside of these and they fill them up, and then they run, in this case it's liquid oxygen, through a set of tubes that are on the inside, and the liquid oxygen molecules shrink while they're in there, and then they go out the bottom and out and into the booster. And so by doing that, you're able to put more of those molecules inside of the booster, and you do that on both sides. So you can see right here that they have 1, 2, 3, 4 on the liquid oxygen side, and on the methane side,
They have 2 now, and
yeah, I wasn't
space
exactly
for
prepared for
2
that
more.
one. Hold on.
It's okay. So a question that comes up to me a lot is, why do they need to store so much liquid nitrogen? They're not putting liquid nitrogen on the ship. Well, in the process of supercooling oxygen or methane, you evaporate the nitrogen over the oxygen and methane just like a radiator in a car. And that cools the oxygen, cools the methane, and that's the propellant that ends up going into the Starship. And the reason that's so important is that once you densify it, you increase the amount of propellant you can store without increasing the size of the ship. So you get a lot of weight savings. You get better structural strength out of the stainless steel, and you get better cooling on the Raptor engines as the supercooled liquid flows through them. Just get more bang for your buck that way. And liquid nitrogen is cheap, and you have to produce it while you're producing the oxygen anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And I finally found that picture. And what I was going to say is that on the methane side, they have 2 spots for more. They're called kettle reboilers, and they also have 2 spots for installing additional pumps. And yeah, I might have to do an explanation on what those pumps actually look like, because I don't think people really understand how big these things are and what is happening down there. Maybe later this week I will do an explanation on that. But let's
Love to work with you on
circle
that one.
all the way back, because we did a
We did a juke. We did a left and a right.
we did, and we're gonna go back to the. Were we at the build site?
We were at Massey's for a minute. We were
Hold on, let's just see what they say in the comments. Like, what do they want us to talk about? Because we haven't touched everything yet.
while we're
Oh, we
waiting
got a
for them.
delay on this. I forgot. This might not be the best to wait for them.
That might be a good time to ask a question.
Do it.
I'm sorry, we're missing our key member, so no questions.
You just scrolled through that quick?
Uh,
You should read all of my mail to me if you have a chance. Like, that would be really helpful. Like, if you can get my mail read to me that quickly, then I don't even need Gmail, man.
Absolutely. Mark all is read. Done.
Thank you.
Hey, we have a $5 donation from Jeff Weiss. Thank you very much, Jeff. He's a continual supporter and a good friend of ours. We've met him down at Boca Chica. He's a regular flyer with RGV. Appreciate you, sir. John Boy, $9.99 donation. Thank you very much. We appreciate that, John. All these donations definitely go towards keeping Mauricio and RGV flying and keeping the content coming. And somebody asked me, weren't the first contractors fired? No, I don't think they were fired. I think they were allowed to complete their job and held to their contract, but I don't know that they were re-invited back to bid again. But I don't have that much insider knowledge, so that's
Yeah, we
speculation.
weren't there for it, so these are all just the word on the street as far as that one's concerned. I almost skipped the rest of the build site, and I think that happened to us last week, but I'm not going to do that to you guys. We're going to stay here. Let's see. I know there was something very interesting that I saw in here. Oh, yeah. I don't know which one's which. I'm always guilty of this. I actually don't pay attention to the ships so much as the
Yeah.
infrastructure.
So ship 21 is on the left.
Mm-hmm. And what's the one on the right? Is that 22?
22, I believe.
Or did they
Yeah.
skip and go to 24?
No, that is still ship 22 is on the right there. Ship 21 is slightly taller on the left. And I think you hit on a real good point that even I didn't realize until you said it. The thing that matters most is the production facility. The ships are super cool. They're super interesting. Boy, the ability to produce a lot of ships and get us all to orbit is just so vital. And yep, we're getting a lot of confirmation. 21 on the left and 22 on the right. Question. Do we know how many people work in Starbase or for SpaceX as a whole at the different sites? I've heard
How many different
1,000.
contractors?
Yeah, total employees. I've heard about 1,000 down at Starbase. Mauricio, does that sound about right?
I wouldn't know the exact number, but I have been noticing an increase in cars around the site.
Well,
I
what
know
we
that.
can one way of figuring this out is you take all of your flyover videos and footage, and you send those to Starbase Deliveries. He's on Twitter at Starbase Deliveries. He tracks all of the movements of tankers at the tank farm. And you give that to him, and he will tell us using his AI software how many employees are currently working at Starbase, and then we don't have to guess. We just give it to him and dish off all our problems on Starbase Deliveries.
That said, SpaceX also has folks working in Florida at the Cape. They have folks nearby in Florida working at Roberts Road who produce a lot of the parts that then end up coming here. I also have folks in California who are producing the Raptor 1 and vacuum Raptor engines. And then they have McGregor, Texas, near Waco, where they're producing the Raptor 2 engines and they're testing and validating all engines. Like you mentioned earlier, I'm very interested in that site. That is definitely one of the biggest possible bottlenecks for production. And that is a huge part of this stage 0 and getting this right.
Yeah, definitely.
Total employees are 4,000, according to YouTube. Thank you, Kevin.
So there was a few other really interesting things I noticed over here. I'm going to skip forward a little bit. Sorry if it's pixelated as I move to where we need to go.
There we have the low bay, and is that the hydraulics building to the left and the ground support building up near Highway 4 towards the top left of the picture?
Yeah, this is the ground support building. Basically, unless they're building it out in Sanchez in the middle of the field for no reason, this is usually where they build all of the test stands and transport stands that you see everywhere. Most of them come out of this building. There's actually a huge oven in the corner of this building. At least that's what it looks like. I don't think we've confirmed what it is. At least I haven't seen it.
Are they baking
But you can
cookies
see right
then?
here, there's some jigs that are coming out of here. This is a jig. I would not be surprised if this was the load spreader that Marvin is using currently to remove Booster 3 from the launch mount. Sorry, from test stand A, not the launch mount.
And finally, we've all been waiting for Booster 3 to see its departure. It had a lot of unpaid parking tickets.
Seriously, like I don't know how they didn't go bankrupt just paying those off. So there's a lot of cool things that I've noticed in this image, and I don't actually know if this is the right one. Let me double check.
You got domes, you got cross sections.
You
We can
skip
talk
the
about
aft.
them going.
There's a new aft flap that's been spotted right next to a truck. I don't know if we've seen that one. I think you passed it.
Yeah, we'll go back to that and right now, and I'll find it. So the new aft flap, is that up here? I'm guessing.
A little bit more to the top.
By the
Right
way,
next to it. Yeah, you can
everyone's
zoom in
getting
there.
to play our favorite game of Where's Waldo?
Oh, I see it.
Oh, there you go.
For a scale. No need to measure. All you got to do is figure out, was that Enterprise?
Mm-hmm.
What is Enterprise's standard truck size and add about... No, you don't need to add anything on. They pretty much lined it up for us so we knew how big it was.
Yeah. That is a 26-foot truck is Enterprise standard. I rent them all the time.
What?
Yeah. I do a lot of logistics.
Hey, you might need to come and apply to my supply chain team, man. We have openings, seriously.
Hey, Zach, right there in the middle, there's 3 grid fins right there. You can zoom in there.
Waffles?
Oh, yeah.
Bear
There's
traps.
3. Wow. Good call, Mauricio.
Sharpshooter. So there's some other things that I saw in this image, and they were right here. So I don't know if anybody hasn't seen the additions that have been made to the launch mount yet, but they've been adding a bakery store canopy to the outside of the launch mount over this last 5 days. And while that may provide some kind of protection, we still have a major problem, and we talked about this last week. You're going to have birds, all kinds of things entering that launch mount, and you got to stop them from doing that. So one thing that they could use to go from those canopies down to the walkway are all of these pieces that are laying out right here. And just so happens that every single piece of steel that was installed on the launch mount happened to enter this area before it ended up on the launch mount. So it's a good chance that these are not just coincidentally here and they're the skirt of the launch mount. But we'll wait to see. One other thing that's over here, this is the called pedestal crane that they had inside of the high bay in order to stall what we think was the downcomer, essentially not downcomer, but the boost back tank for the locks in the booster. This is what they use to lower that. They installed this in the high bay. It's kind of weird. Like they've cut this thing in half by now. Two separate pieces. I don't fully understand it. But one of the other things that you will notice here is that they're about to expand their solar capacity pretty drastically. And I'm pretty sure that's actually about to happen in the next few days. I'm trying to find where it is.
Have we seen any new solar panels arriving on site?
I actually have, but I just cannot find where they're at. They have a new receiving area, and they changed everything up on me since the last time I've been down there.
Yeah, power is always going to be an issue. Boca Chica is fairly remote, and they have to generate a lot of power for a lot of different industrial processes. So the more solar, wind, and on-site battery and natural gas they can produce, the more adequately they can serve their own internal needs there.
Yeah, let's continue on. I'll find it.
These are such great shots.
I know. It's actually, sorry. We did find the picture of the high bay that Mauricio spent a lot of time working on, so I want to make sure that we
Oh yeah, I
show
love that
that.
picture. Let's definitely highlight
Okay,
that.
let's zoom out. So, Mauricio actually traveled about 5 months in the future in order to take this picture, and luckily he came back because there was a lot of issues in the wormhole, and was able to like show us what it's going to look like. Basically, for some reason they still hadn't installed the outside stairs, but at least they had, their second high bay bar, or wider bay, whatever you want to call it, bar done. But at 100 meters, this is about what it would look like. So fantastic job, Mauricio. Thank you for illustrating that for us. Oh no.
Do we have any pictures from 10 years in the future?
We don't want to talk about them.
Yeah, I'll get on my time machine and get you guys some photos of that on the next episode.
Thank you. We appreciate it, sir.
I'm so close to finding these things. I just don't know where they're at. We're about to exit the build site, guys. That was the last one. But before we do that, one thing that I can't find where they are from the aerial, but I think this is important to show still. So I'm gonna try and grab it really quick. So somewhere out here, let's figure out, where are we? Is this?
See, water container, Boca Chica Village in the back.
Is that?
Looks like a Tesla solar roof back there. I may be mistaken.
Right here?
Yeah, this looks off down behind the taco stand, where
I know where it's at.
which is near the existing solar panel farm as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we got to go back to Boca Chica Village. So here we are, Boca Chica Village.
Yep, I think that it's stored in that area.
Yeah, this is our existing solar panel capacity right here. They've done a lot of work like clearing out stuff in this area. There's a ton of pipe work in here for something major. There's still cryo lines in here actually, which I personally believe are going to the launch site. There's also water lines that I believe are going to the launch site.
I agree. By the way, what is that right in front of us? Those 2 satellite dishes.
These are these tracking stations. Is that what they're called? These look different for some reason right now.
I know it's funny at an odd angle and they're pointing straight up, but yeah, I believe those are microwave arrays possibly that either aim at the Starship, or sometimes we've seen them during Falcon 9 launches. They will track the trajectory of a Starlink mission as it flies over. Speaking of Starlink, off to the right, I see 9 ping pong balls. Those are allegedly Starlink ground links to ground link station to the Starlinks that are flying above Starbase, Texas now, and they provide great connectivity for the internal resources down at SpaceX.
So during Rocket Talk the other day, we were talking about some what we thought were heat shield tiles in a box, and that is what MaxQ is going to look for in order to find the picture that we need. No, we're here. So lots of things are happening in this image, guys. A lot. Number 1, tons of housing units.
Airstream travel trailers.
Dude, I want one of those so bad. I might just buy an F-350 and pull up and just take one of them. Except now that you guys know about it, so I can't do that anymore. But I would. So these pallets right here, I initially thought that these were heat shield tiles, but they are not. What do you think they are, GPJ?
Oh, I was thinking they were heat shield tiles with the numbers corresponding to the levels going on. So you got me for a surprise. What do you think they are?
They are actually solar panels.
Oh,
So,
these are.
And I literally just had the picture up, and I lost it. We'll recover from this. Don't you worry. Starship Gazer was kind enough to find this for us. He did some ground shots in order to I saw this earlier in the week and I was like, these are the heat shield tiles, or I mean, I really didn't know what else they were going to be. Here we go. So he took pictures of these on the ground, and this is what they are. Q cells. And in each one of these containers is 33 solar panels. And they have a lot of them, like a bunch.
How many boxes is that? So 33.
We don't have time, man. We don't have time to count.
Oh,
like somebody screenshot this one time and then let us know in the comments how many there are. We got to move on. They have a lot of solar capacity. Each one of these things holds 33. Okay. Not only do we need the count of how many are here, you guys, but we need the total. So whatever total count of boxes that you get here, multiply that by 33, because I don't do math when I'm not at work. Let us know how many solar panels that SpaceX has here, because I think they're going to upgrade their electrical capacity. Sorry, power capacity pretty significantly soon.
All right.
Let's
want to get down the road a little bit? Yeah. Here we are at the farm.
I love it. Except I don't.
So here we have the commodities fuel storage, and then we have all the processing. Your mouse is currently on the launch tower. Do you want to talk about the launch tower first?
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff happening at the launch tower. I don't know if you guys have been watching this week, but on Lab Padre live streams, and Jessica Hirsch and Starship Gazer pretty much everybody who's been streaming down there, been seeing a lot of tests happening on the chopsticks, which has been really fun to watch. I'm hoping that there's more tonight after we get done with this. Like, I'm pretty sure they're just waiting for us to finish the show so that they can start. One of the other things that I've noticed down here, well, we talked about this last week, the way that they have covered up all of the cryo tubing that was going into the tower. So what they did here is they poured concrete foundation around in between all of those tubings, the pipes. So there was cryo tubing here. You can actually see them right here entering the building. Cryo tubing on this side, and hydraulics plus a ton of other, mostly hydraulics going into the tower.
So why are
And
they spending so much time covering everything up down here?
because we got 33 engines on this booster, man.
That's right. Twice as much force as the Saturn V, and it is going to wreck some stuff up down there. If it's not covered, it's toast.
Yeah. And skirt. Speaking of cover-ups,
Oh. For those Raptor
there's your
engines?
bakery store canopy right there.
Oh. Is that the awnings of legend that are going on over the launch
Orbital
table?
launch mount, yeah. So
That'll
these came in on a truck about 3 weeks ago, I think. The very interesting thing about these, there's the two of these over here have holes in them, but we don't know what those are for. Some people think they're for ladders, which I have not seen any ladders out here. Thomas will find us the ladder.
Thomas
Um,
loves ladders. Hold
ooh,
there
I
for
just
1 moment.
realized. So this right here, I know you guys have maybe seen videos about what these doghouses are for. This is a doghouse. This is a doghouse. I initially thought these were for the other side of the launch mount, but I'm pretty positive this thing is already in place. They probably moved this right here, and we didn't even notice it because we don't have that view. And they may have moved this right here, but we
Oh,
would
to
have seen
cover up.
that one at least. This one could be in place right now. I'm pretty positive that's where these go now.
That protects all the piping.
On this side, but we should see more on the other side to cover up all of the cryo tubing for the main supply lines. And let's see if I can circle around there really quick. Oh, let's see. Thank you, Paulus Plain. That is a really cool name. Paulus Plain. Thank you for your donation. He said, wouldn't it be good to have cryopropellant lines from the propellant plant to the launch pads for long-term future production launch? Oof. All right. Let's I'm gonna answer that question, but we're gonna have to back out a little bit and get an image from further away.
Oh, yeah, this is a great question. So anyone who's been following me on Twitter knows I've been studying how much propellant is needed, and it is a massive amount. Um, we're looking at several hundred trucks at the least to make a delivery, but a pipeline would definitely smooth things over, but it has a lot of complexity to it. You can't just run cryo underground. And Zach is a little bit more of an expert on that, so I'll let him take over on some of the technical details of why that can be so difficult.
Yeah, let's start down here by the launch mount legs. So, like I said, with that doghouse cover, now looking at this side, I think that's actually meant for the other side. And this looks way too big for these, so I don't think it's going here. We're probably going to see additional versions of these for this, another one for this leg, another one or two sets of them for each side of this stairway. That stairway is not going to survive 33 inches.
No.
Period. It has to get covered. Like, that's not even an option. So we'll see cover on that. Let's talk about the tank farm, because we've put a lot of energy into that over the last few weeks, and so have they. That energy has mostly been consumed by removing this berm. As you can see here,
And why would they be removing that berm? Make
I
more
think if I say the
room.
word, we might lose our ability to, you know,
I
it's
was
bad,
gonna
man.
make.
I get stressed out even when I think about this. It's I cannot if this stuff is true, I can't believe that this happened. I truly for the longest time, and I'm still not throwing shade when I say this stuff. Like I still have way more faith in SpaceX than literally any other company on the planet.
Mhm.
But with that being said, I cannot believe that this happened. I This is the single worst mistake I've ever seen them make. And it's game
Referring to
changing.
the You're referring to the vertical storage tanks for the
Yeah.
methane? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
And
let's be
we
real.
yeah.
If they whether or not this event that I'm talking about happened, they probably still wouldn't be ready for a launch considering the fact that the FAA is still doing their review, right? Till
Mhm.
February 28th. 7 days after my birthday, by the way, in case anybody's wondering. So they're already gonna have to wait until that long. But if they got that approval ahead of time, they would still be in this situation. And from what we've seen, there's no explanation for these other than additional storage because they can't use these. So as we
Mhm.
mentioned before, there's perlite that they use to insulate these things laying everywhere around the facility because they haven't been able to fill these. And there's no pipework that's directly connected to either of these two. They've removed them actually. All the pipework that was connected to these were removed. And then they brought in these two horizontal storage tanks.
Those
And
two
so,
horizontal storage tanks were produced by another manufacturer who may be certified to produce those tanks, so they come pre-certified, whereas the ones produced by SpaceX, not certified, have not been certified, and may not even be able to be certified, which makes these horizontal storage tanks all the more important.
yes.
And
And
the thing
I
that's
just,
important about the removal of the berm is that it now allows room for two more tanks, horizontal storage tanks, to be placed down there. And the reason that's important is these two tanks that exist now are not large enough to hold the entire volume and weight of liquid methane before it's condensed to go into the Starship. So it's vital for SpaceX to get that done. So had they been granted the launch license today, they would not be able to fully fuel the Starship and launch immediately because of this issue right here. So we'll be waiting on this to finish. And
you know,
once you see, yeah,
I
the
want to
additional
acknowledge something that Thomas from Lab Padre did earlier this week. He actually took a lot of time with a few other people to calculate out the volume of these. So I want to acknowledge that. That is the only reason why we're saying what we're saying. But
absolutely.
I'm not 100% sure that what GPJ just said is correct because, well, we'd have to ask Thomas. I think he's in the comments. Um, they do have enough volume in order to fill both the booster and the Starship, according to people who do math, because I don't. But if they have, I don't know if that volume considers how much it shrinks when it's condensed inside of these things. So I meant to ask Thomas that earlier this week, and I don't know what his verdict was. But the point remains that whether or not you're just making it or you don't have enough, probably better to have more than you need. So
Right.
one of the biggest things that I would do with this tank farm, if I was SpaceX, after the first launch, I would do a massive renovation of this thing, and it's going to be really difficult. Like it's going to be super difficult because these tanks are not meant, they're not set up to be arranged in the way that I'm explaining them. But right now you have liquid oxygen, liquid oxygen, liquid oxygen. You have liquid nitrogen and liquid nitrogen, and these two were supposed to be methane. Now these can't be methane anymore. So instead
Uh,
of moving them over here like people think they're going to do, like all you have to do is change the pipework up and then 1, 2, 3 liquid nitrogen, 1, 2, 3, 4 liquid oxygen. You have to switch the piping up in order to combine these 4 liquid oxygen and then hook these up together. And there's a vent stack on this one, which they need for liquid nitrogen. but there's also one on here which can be converted to liquid nitrogen if they try to. So you have 4 liquid oxygen tanks now and 3 liquid nitrogen tanks. It's very major to do that renovation. Super. It's like they might as well do their first launch, confirm that they're gonna, I don't know, wait till they re-enter for the first time or something, like, or if they confirm that they can catch it for the first time. But after they catch it for the first time, like, this needs major renovation. Like, these may just be inactive until that day. Like, it could be 6 months, a year and a half from now. But honestly, it also could be like next week. Like, they may have something in the works in order to get approved on that. Like, this is all pure speculation. Let's keep that in mind. But what I have been seeing,
one of our regular contributors, Miss Stephanie Ball, asked a good question. What is the particular regulation that disallowed us from using those 2 CH4 tanks? I think we covered that before, but I'd like to hear it again briefly.
well, one of the big things is this wall that they put around the new methane storage tanks. It's a 6-foot wall. They're like, the Texas Railroad Commission requires a 6-foot wall around anything that is a methane storage tank or a methane transfer line. So you will see that all the pipework and the tanks are contained within that retaining wall. And this retaining wall is not a containment wall. It's a safety barrier to keep you and me from jumping the fence so we can get a selfie. And
we would.
I would never. I would never.
I wouldn't suggest anybody do that. Also,
Yeah,
you need a
definitely
certain amount
don't,
of
but you can't.
space.
Yeah, you can't. So here's the thing. I'm pretty sure that if they don't build this out of concrete, if they choose to use the regular fencing that they use somewhere everywhere else, they would have to put a barbed wire fence on top of it. I'm pretty sure that because it's concrete, they don't have to do that. I could be wrong. But the fact remains that they cannot do that around these 2 methane tanks. They cannot isolate them from these other ones because they have to keep the same distance that exists between this tank and this wall has to be maintained between this tank and whatever imaginary wall that somebody would like to put here. And you just can't. You can't do that. You can't put 6 feet of space in between the edge of this tank and that wall. So until they can do that, they're never going to be able to use them for that. And I personally think there are things that are far deeper than that, especially involving like the insurance risks that they face with having these vertical tanks and even the horizontal ones on location. But now is not really the best time to get into that. But just to like get back on what we were talking about, they've been removing this berm pretty much all week. And as they've been stripping it down, they've just been shipping it away. It's not like they're storing it on the side so they can rebuild it. They're basically removing the wall. And one of the things that we talked about at the beginning of the show was those 2 big horizontal storage tanks at the Sanchez site. The ones that just got delivered.
That's right.
And the thing about these tanks is that we've all agreed that there's nowhere being prepared for them to go. Like, there's no land that you can identify here where it looks like they might put those tanks soon.
There's
But
definitely somewhere down at the launch site.
all week long, we've been watching them remove this. Why?
So lay those new tanks down.
I don't know. You tell me. So it could just be a fueling depot over here, but they could extend the berm over here, protect those tanks like they should. They might not even need a berm over there, honestly, but they should still put one up anyways because I like them. They look cool. But yeah,
Hey,
I truly think they're gonna expand their methane storage, not so that they can have enough for a single launch, but so that they can have enough to do things like, okay, well, we want to do a static fire 2 hours before we do a launch for some reason. So if you want to do a static fire currently in this configuration, you're going to have to wait several days to refuel. Not several days. It can be hours, actually. They can do it quickly. But you're going to have to bring in tankers to replace the methane that was used during that static fire. So that involves you reopening the road, safing the facility, reopening the road, getting those guys on the road, getting them to offload for an hour and a half, because that's how long it takes for each of them to offload. And then you continue your operations. But the other option is to put more storage than you need, which is what it's SpaceX. Come on, guys. Like, they're going to put more storage than they need. especially now that they're able to convert these into liquid oxygen and these into liquid nitrogen, you might as well match it with additional methane on the ground.
Hey, let me stop right there for a second and give a big thanks to Paul's Plane again for another 100 NOK, which is about $11 US. He says, oh, I know the Boring Company, more power with love from Norway. And question, is the GSE tank farm far away enough from the highway? And the answer to that is no, it is right on the highway.
It is on the highway. Yep, it is the highway. We skipped over a question, and the question was involving sending a pipeline from Sanchez to the tank farm. So if you were gonna put a pipeline from Sanchez to this tank farm, number one, it's not gonna be a cryogenic pipeline. You're not gonna transfer super cooled liquid oxygen or liquid nitrogen or liquid methane for that matter to this place. You're not going to do that. That is extremely expensive, and it's a massive undertaking in order to keep that liquid cool for the 2 mile stretch. Is it 2 miles?
No, it's
Mile and a half?
mile and a half. Yeah.
Mile and a half stretch to Sanchez. The easier way of doing that is by sending it here as a gas. So instead of having those big tanks that you have at the Sanchez site for storage, you don't even need them. You just turn it into gas immediately and you send it here. And you do the same with your methane. You send gaseous methane. And then you have a condenser station on your landing pad that you don't need anymore. And then you liquefy everything here and send it into these tanks. And then you eliminate.
You do that with
how many tankers per launch? How many tankers per launch, Grandpa Joe?
Oh, it's over 350.
350 tanker truck trips are eliminated by putting a gas pipeline, and we don't even have to use methane. We can continue to truck in methane. Let's say that environmentalists are upset about putting methane underground. That is fine. But we use far more liquid nitrogen and far more liquid oxygen than we do methane. So, and some people might think this is crazy. I've never tried to pipe liquid oxygen underground. I don't know if they do this or if there's something stopping it from happening. But if there's not, then pipe over your liquid nitrogen and your liquid oxygen, gaseous oxygen and gaseous nitrogen to this facility, a compressor station, condense it here and put it straight into the tanks. And then at least you don't need the tankers that are required to fill your liquid nitrogen tanks. And then you can continue to just truck in your methane as you need to. But a pipeline is one of the most critical things, in my opinion, to making them sustainable. If you have to have 300 tanker trucks come in and out of this place before every launch, imagine the fuel that's used in that process. It's insane. It's insane. They have to sit there running those trucks for an hour and a half while they onload fuel, and another hour and a half while they offload the fuel. So you have to idle those trucks for 3 hours. They're running all day. So you have a fleet. You probably have a fleet of 50 vehicles that are idling all day as you cycle them in and out, so that you can have close to 120 trucks show up every day very quickly, because that's what they do in the oil and gas industry. They just convoy these trucks in back and forth and fill these up as fast as possible. You can avoid that situation completely. You can avoid the people who are going to be upset about the fact that this road has to be shut down as the trucks back in. You can avoid that situation completely by putting a compressor station on the landing pad and piping over at very minimum your liquid nitrogen and liquid oxygen and condensing it down and then putting it in these tanks. That should make environmentalists way happier than anything else anybody's going to tell them in a PEA report, in my opinion. But
and just back of the napkin math, I'm at 87 hours to do all loads with 15 filling stations and 90 minutes per load. That's definitely going to cut down on the launch cadence once they want to get fully operational. And Elon Musk has been aspirational in saying that they're going to do launch a day or maybe even more. So getting that many tankers, it's just not physically possible with their current setup.
They
So they're
have
going
to
to
expand it. They have to.
Yeah.
I'm honestly surprised that we haven't seen tanks that are the same size as these ones show up, to tell you the truth. Oh, hold on. Somebody just gave us a picture of the pipeline, existing pipeline. Let me look at it first, try and see if. Ooh. Natural gas pipeline? So this is the existing pipeline going to the launch site. Thank you, Max Q. And sorry, dude, I know you've been posting like everything that I've asked you to in the comments, and we've just been rambling. And he's still been doing the work, finding the pictures, even though we haven't shown like 90% of them. I'm really sorry for that, Max Q. This is the existing pipeline that ends basically at the Sanchez gas site. Yeah, that is what I mean. They could potentially just run this natural gas straight directly to their purification plant, and then pipe over methane to the other place, condense it, put it in the tanks, and that's it. No more tankers. You'll CSI or sorry, what's his name? Starbase Deliveries will literally
go
have
out
to
of
become
business.
part of my team. Like, unfortunately, he'll lose his job because he won't be tracking tankers anymore at all.
Don't worry, we're always hiring.
Yeah, like I got you.
Hey, do you have time for a question?
Yeah.
Do you think that Starbase Texas will still be operational once the Starbase at the Cape is complete?
Yes.
Absolutely. It's a production facility, and for right now, it's a launch facility. And, they may also be using some nearby offshore launch platforms, getting those in the mix as well. But for now, this is where I believe all initial starships will launch from here at least once, their maiden voyage. It's like old ships leaving a shipyard. They'll hit it with a champagne bottle and send it on to the Cape.
Yeah, pretty much this would be like the delivery station. The problem with that is you can only deliver starships to the Cape. I don't think you can deliver boosters.
No. The booster would it only travels maybe 100 miles very quickly and pushes a lot of mass to high velocity, but it doesn't go very far. And then the plan is to only fly for 170 seconds. After that 170 seconds, it cuts off, turns around, and heads back, according to the SpaceX filings with the FCC.
Yeah, so one of the things that we have to also consider when you're talking about like transporting things from Texas to Starbase, just looking at this map. So Starbase is right down here, right? And KSC is actually up here, right?
And you cannot fly over land.
You cannot fly over land. Yo grandma lives in Florida. She ain't about to have a rocket fly over her house, period. That's not happening.
My grandma does live in Florida. I don't want her,
I know, I was
crushed
talking
by
to
a
you.
starship.
No, absolutely not. We're talking about the biggest booster in the history of boosters. We're talking about the, like, that's not gonna, you're not gonna launch from here, release the starship, do a backflip over your grandma's house, and land at KSC. That's never gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. Not only is it not gonna happen for regulation purposes, it's just simply not gonna travel that far. The distance is either gonna come back directly to the launch site, or if you are going to deliver somewhere, it'll probably be one of the drone ships that are off coast somewhere in this area.
Right.
And I think Max Q has that for us, but it's basically Max Q. Don't look for it. It's in this area, the planned area for booster recovery, aka where the drone ship would be, and that's the same over here. I mean, the recovery zone is down here for Falcon 9 boosters. It's not way over here. So you cannot just you can't hop a booster to KSC. You have to either build them there or well,
Or you
without a starship on top, if you put a nose cone, only a nose cone, and you reduce the 1,500 tons of mass that are on the starship, potentially you could go all the way up over it and come back. That would be the most ridiculous maneuver I've ever seen, and I hope they try that. Like you would have to come all the way over and dogleg.
It sounds much more likely that they'll transport it by water or perhaps even build it on site down at Roberts Road.
This is the planned, I'm guessing, path from the Super Heavy booster on a normal launch.
That's the FCC filing right there.
Yes, and this would be landing on a ocean platform, correct?
No, that's actually just landing right in the water.
Oh, this is for booster 4, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So booster 4, this is the release point, and then it does backflip and pretends to land over here. Yeah, this is a normal booster path. It's not all the way across the Gulf of Mexico. You know, it's over
that's
in this
very
area.
zoomed in. And I'm very hopeful that while they're landing in the water, that they simulate a landing on the chopsticks.
Let's talk. I see people in the Isaac mural. Is that the same Isaac that I think it is? That would be amazing. People are talking about the fact that the space shuttle went over the coast. The space shuttle is a second stage vehicle coming in from orbit. The space shuttle is not a first stage vehicle. The United States of America does not launch first stage boosters over American population, period. That has never happened. We do not do that. The only place where we get close to doing that is Vandenberg.
And we fly north or south out of there.
Yeah,
so it's a
we
orbit.
we don't put boosters over humans, because what if it fails? What if you have the largest booster in the world fail? We just don't take that risk. This is the wrong country for that. We will not fly the booster over American population ever.
Now, the Chinese have done it, and luckily they've never hit anybody. And the Russians launch out of Kazakhstan and launch over the land. But I would like to point out that the U.S. did launch and fly over Cuba once, and we unfortunately killed one very unfortunate cow. So that's when we stopped. Never again.
I don't know if this is the same Isaac, but I hope it is. I like seeing, paying attention to the chat. I'm sorry, guys, that we haven't been, I said this before. I'm sorry we haven't been as attentive to the chat as we would like to be. We're bouncing around and creating rabbit holes all over the place, and it's tough to look down there, but we're trying to stay on top of it. So thank you guys for being patient, and we're really glad all of you are here. And let's take a second to just reintroduce ourselves, I guess. Is Mauricio still here?
Hey guys, I'm still here. I've been listening. I feel like I'm in a class taking notes.
This is secretly just a plan to educate Mauricio so he can get that job at SpaceX he's always wanted.
Right. I'm really fluent when it comes to photography. I'm really passionate about all that. And I've been slowly learning from you guys, throughout all this. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. I have a question for you guys. Which booster do you guys think will be the first one that the chopsticks will be attempting to catch?
Booster 4.
No.
Oh, to catch?
Catch?
No.
I'm gonna go not booster 7. That'll probably also go off into the ocean. Whichever booster is fully stacked after 7. So that'll probably be
8,
9, 10.
All right.
Yeah, you're probably right, and the reason is because the process of them catching this booster is a lot different than people think. I think a lot of people expect it to come in super hot, and they're trying to figure out where it's at, and the arms are moving around frantically to try and find it. No, this thing is coming in at a really steep angle, and it's basically flying about as horizontal as it possibly can until it gets directly over this circle right here. And then it's going to force itself downwards ridiculously fast. unnaturally fast. I hope they get it on camera when it does it. It's going to go from horizontal to vertical in less than 2 seconds, and it'll come straight down. And at that point, it'll probably take about, I don't know. I'm not going to guess on that. Less than 2 minutes. But these arms will be sitting there. Like, imagine yourself like trying to catch something that's falling from the top of a skyscraper. You're just going to be like shuffling around with your arms out, like, oh, I got it. The arms are going to be doing that motion the entire time it's coming down. The arms really don't need to move that fast because by the time the booster gets there, they're already going to be in place. There's no fast motion that is needed. It's very calculated and it's super easy for the booster, in my opinion. I think
It's all physics.
it's super easy for the booster, not the Starship. I'm still can't believe they're even going to do that. But this is genius for the booster, in my opinion, and it
Agreed.
will work. I hope they don't. I wish they would put legs back on the Starship for a while. Catching the booster, I think, is a no-brainer.
In worst case scenario, if they're not able to catch the booster or the Starship, they still have landing legs that they can add. It won't be as efficient, but I bet they'll still be able to get 100 metric tons to orbit with legs. But, you know, this catching arm idea is so amazing and so out there. The engineer in me really wants to see this work because it's going to be crazy and amazing to watch.
Starship Gazer's watching. Starship Gazer sent me. You guys, if you didn't know, I don't know if he knows, but he's the main photographer for CSI Starbase. And this is why. So when we do our investigations, usually we're reviewing either Mauricio or Starship Gazer's footage. But we don't need to show this too much. This is just how we know that there's 32 of them on each pallet. And I don't know if anybody did the math to figure out how many solar panels they just got in the mail. But either way, it's a lot. And they're about to drastically expand their solar capacity. And thank you, Starship Gazer, for sending that to me. That was great. Max Q, you guys might have to rock, paper, scissors after this. Where were we? Launch site.
We were just talking about the booster coming in hot, and yep, we were covering. You know, let's look at the tower for a minute and go over this week's activities. So,
You don't want to talk about the cover up?
oh, you know what? Skip all that. Let's talk about the cover up first.
I'm trying to find a good angle of it. So,
It
one
looks
thing we like to
even
talk
more
about,
mysterious with the clouds.
yeah, SpaceX likes to hide things from people, and you know, lucky for everybody else, some of us pay more attention than they give us credit for. So, guys, this is where CSI Starbase announces the newest investigation into the SpaceX cover-up. They're constantly trying to hide things from us so that we can't see them and not have any idea what's going on. But that's just not going to work because we have Mauricio. So what we're seeing here, guys, is most likely the thing that is preventing Elon's worst fear, which is an engine exploding and taking out the one next to it. So in order to stop that from happening, you need to put a bulkhead around the power unit. Oof, Max Q, you might want to get to work on this. I think I'm trying to think of who it was who did that diagram. From Kiwi did a diagram or a picture of what these things look like inside of the booster. So basically, like I said, they're essentially bulkheads that stop. Like if the engine explodes, it's going to be contained within that.
It doesn't take out its neighbor.
Exactly. You don't want that to happen. And Elon has said on Twitter that that's one thing that he's afraid of. And so this is right here is what the booster skirt looks like currently. And you can kind of see here that this area right here, the power pack, is the area where we've always see flames at when they launch starships every time.
Mm-hmm.
I think SN15 might be the only one where we didn't see that actually.
I think
they were
had
just
it
on
too.
fire. Did it?
Oh yeah, SN15 had a little flame afterwards.
For some reason, it's just on fire. I don't know why, but if you contain that, if that fire develops into an actual explosion, then something. Oh, it's doing it again. I was hoping it was going to stop doing that. So something like this would be really good at containing that. And beyond that, you have more panels right here that they also didn't think we were going to realize. And as Chrome Kiwi has drawn for us, these
I
are
think
what
we've seen.
those
Oh,
should
there you
look
go.
like. So let's side by side them really quick.
You think we've seen an engine explode yet?
Mm,
Maybe SN11?
no. I mean, that's up to you guys' opinion. I don't.
Might have been
That's all
flight termination
speculation. They never
system.
told us what happened, so it's
Ah,
all
no.
speculation. Like
And yep, we'll always try to keep speculation
to a
separate from
maximum,
fact.
actually. I think they
But-
blew it up. Like everybody that I know who has any involvement in demolitions that was down there, I'm not going to name their names because people will be very glad to hear that. Oh, they're saying these crazy things. No, but let me just say that people who know what demolition sounds like all happen to think that it detonated. I mean, EDA in his live stream, the first thing he said, "Oh, they blew it up." That's the first thing he said. Everybody, even you, thought that when you heard that sound that they blew it up. Tell me not. And the only reason you changed your mind is because everybody else was like, "No, they didn't do that."
Do you
That's
think,
the only reason you
Mauricio?
changed your mind. So these right here are where the black covers will go around, and in between each, the outer bank of engines and the inner bank of engines, you'll have these panels. And I sure think they're gonna look pretty, but I don't think they're installed yet, and that's the only reason that Elon hasn't showed them to us. Hopefully. But beyond that, we have obviously the COPV covers. I think that
and
might be the
we're
extent of the cover up right here.
we're missing one other vital cover. The outer 20 Raptor engines will have covers.
Oh. Wait, is that one here too?
We found it before, I thought, but that was
No, that was
it looked
last.
like
I think that was a few weeks ago.
yeah, that was a few weeks ago. It was a close match, but maybe not perfect. But you know, time will tell.
Yeah.
But everything's got to be covered up and secured. And look, both in terms of detonation, but also in terms of just the pure sound force that's coming out of those engines, bouncing back. Having a cover over them can prevent debris from striking a sensitive cable. It just, armoring your sensitive area under the ship helps prevent a host of problems. From inside out and from outside in.
I'm kind of curious what the general audience thinks. Do you guys think there's been a lot of speculation lately? Do you guys think that they're ignoring the word deluge? I think people tend to get caught up on that word, like, oh, it's not a deluge sounds massive, man. That's your whole neighborhood being just gone down the street, cars flowing in the river. That's a deluge. No, you guys, we're talking about sound suppression. We'll stop calling it a deluge. Sound suppression. Like, do we truly believe that what we've seen so far is the entire water deluge system? I just want to know that in the comments. We're not going to do it right now because I don't have the dates written down. Actually, I think I do kind of have it organized to do it, but we're going to skip that. I'm just interested to seeing what people think about it, and then I think we're going to do maybe a short episode on what water pipe actually exists down there currently. And there's also a significant amount of missing water pipe that's near the launch mount. So I think maybe we'll do an episode about that if people want to hear that. I think water deluge is important. Sorry, sound suppression. Anything else you want to talk about from this view, other than the Booster 3, which just got?
I mean, Booster 3 is the exciting thing. But the other thing I wanted to talk about was the launch tower and the recent operations they had there. If you wanted to cover that while we're here, which is not in that picture. There we go. So this week we saw the first action on the chopsticks arms, and I'm just gonna say, I'm not as good at speculation as other, but I called this last week. Got a lucky guess that they were taking the scaffolding off, and the chopstick arms have traveled up and down. They've gone side to side. They've opened and closed. And Zach, I want to mention something that's of a keen interest to you. I've had a lot of drones flying in and around and through the arms, and man, to be a drone pilot down there at SpaceX, they're the only pilots are allowed because of flight restrictions. But man, what just some amazing shots I'm sure those guys are getting.
Yeah, and one really great live stream that happened this week was when actually both of them, Starship Gazer and Jessica, being out there showing the chopsticks, basically doing the YMCA. For like how long was he out there? I think it was a 11-hour live stream, 11 and a half hour live stream.
Oh, wow.
For the record, he went straight after he got off work, and if I didn't call him, I don't know if he would have went. So I think everybody owes me a YMCA in the chats. Plus, actually, if you guys haven't liked this video, please do. We really appreciate all you guys being there. It's been about 440 people for this entire time, which is amazing because I think we're close to
2 hours in now.
Yeah, 2 hours in at this point. So we really appreciate all you guys being here. If you haven't already liked and subscribed to RGV aerial photos, please do that. And make sure you activate all of the alerts. And also all of our Twitter handles are on the screen. So RGV aerial photos, CSI Starbase, and Grandpa Joe 42. We're super active during the daytime. Like I do have a real job, but like you wouldn't know by looking at my Twitter, honestly. So we try and be really active and like keep you guys updated on things that are happening every day. And as much as I would like to say that it's all me putting this stuff together, a lot of I see all these YMCA's in the chat. A lot of like theories and speculation does come from me, but I have like a really, really amazing team of people who are able to like, if I say like, hey guys, like I'm pretty sure I saw this somewhere, they usually are really good at just going and finding it. And like without that stuff, like I wouldn't be able to put this together without, all of, both of our production teams who are able to organize all these things, and we wouldn't be able to, do these things for you. But I think that this is something that's been missing for a long time in this, when we're covering SpaceX, is just being able to talk about the stuff that we're seeing together. You know what I mean? Like
come together, and thank y'all, everyone who's contributing in the YouTube chat and asking us great questions. And we're just glad to have y'all on board with us. And thank y'all all for joining, RGV Aerial. We really appreciate it. All the support.
Oh wow! You know what? I feel like I don't want to do. I do want to do this. I owe some people some explanations because for a long time I was asked this question, but should I do this? Should I tell them? You know what I'm talking about, GPJ, right?
Oh no, I don't.
Well, a long time ago, Thomas asked me where I worked, and I wasn't able to tell people. But I do want to talk about it because it contributes to something that like we talk about here every day. So, let's reintroduce ourselves for the third time, I guess, and talk about like what we do in our personal lives and what led us to Starship. Like, let's just take a step back and like redo that.
I don't think I've ever actually formally introduced myself. I go by Grandpa Joe, both online and in person a lot of times. I am in the IT industry, but I am an industrial engineer by training in college, and just went into the IT industry instead. I do a lot of logistics and massive scale deployments and other such fun things with computers, as well as a lot of programming. And and I just love rockets and all things Starbase. Always have ever since the space shuttle days. It's been a true passion of mine, and it just really scratches that itch for keen engineering and innovative design, and I love watching it.
What about you, Mauricio? Do you just only fly over Starbase? Is that your entire job?
No, and I think I haven't gone over this, but so I own the company RGV Aerial Photography. All we do is we do aerial photography in the South Texas region, south of Corpus Christi, basically. And We cover about 4 or 5 counties for the most part, and we do aerial photography for realtors, for for that's mainly our main line of business. We do a lot of real estate photography across the valley, and I just kind of stumbled upon photographing the back then we called it Boca Chica, right? I still call it that from time to time, the Boca Chica area in the SpaceX site. And I think we talked about this last time as well. And my passion, honestly, it's photography and aviation, put in a nutshell, And I'm actually, ever since I started doing these flyovers, I got the chance to get introduced to, flying. I'm not a pilot. I'm actually currently taking lessons to become a private pilot, and it's fun. I love it.
Do you expect to like be as into it as you've become, or did you just like think it was always just going to be like an opportunity? And I'm not saying that you thought it was just an opportunity. Like, did you like for a lot of people it is. I think there's other people that cover this, and sometimes it actually is just an opportunity, and you can tell sometimes that they're not into it. Like, did you expect to like be this deep into it?
I never expected to. Just now, I today I reached 100,000 uh followers on Twitter.
You
I
didn't
never
tell me?
expected.
That
No.
was that was
What?
crucial
Hey,
information, man. I thought we was friends.
everybody throw out some congrats for Mauricio.
Wow.
100,000 followers. That's
That's like your
huge.
birthday, man.
Happy
Oh
birthday.
yeah.
Happy birthday, man. Dang.
Thank you. But yeah, I
Wow.
mean, you don't expect that kind of support or people to find your stuff interesting. From the beginning, I was kind of skeptical if people even like this kind of stuff. And it turns out it actually worked out pretty good.
Oh, very well, I would say.
Oh, yeah. Great.
I have my own story about like kind of how my involvement like got into, and I'll skip over most of it, but if I got laid off when I was working for the oil and gas industry, right at the beginning of like COVID. So I worked in the oil and gas industry for about 4 years total as a field engineer. So I like have a lot of firsthand experience with oil and gas operations, and I actually worked directly with the NOV engineers when I was at my last company that I don't know if they actually constructed the drawworks or if they're the ones who did the refurbishment or just the ones who own it, similar to Fagioli on a crane. I don't really know that part, but I know that they were involved in the development of the Mechazilla system, and I kept their secret because they told me that they were working on some SpaceX stuff, and I didn't tell anybody until like 3 months ago. So um, that was something really cool that I got out of being in the oil and gas industry, on top of actually being able to understand how actual oil and gas operations should be run, which is what they're doing here. Like this is an oil and gas operation. And if you don't have oil and gas people on your team when you're making decisions involving in this operation, then you're going to make mistakes, period. So this has to be handled in oil and gas fashion. That is one of like the greatest things that I'm like really proud of as far as like what I've gone through in my life is just being a part of that industry that is so controversial to so many people and like truly understanding how it actually works inside and out for the most part. But before that, I did construction management for several structural steel company and a mechanical construction company doing like HVAC and plumbing and all that stuff. I did project management for that. Um, I've worked as a design engineer, and currently I actually work for a really large cannabis company in the United States. So I do supply chain management. So I like to speak on supply chain related things regularly, um, because it's something that I'm like truly passionate about, and GPJ will allude to that a lot of times in our conversations. But putting this stuff together, the reason I have such an appreciation for their infrastructure is because putting this stuff together is not easy. You know what I mean? Yes, this mistake that they made at the tank farm, if that is what it is major. Major mistake. I would not be surprised if somebody lost their job for that mistake, because when we all of us were like thinking that they were going to launch in July, the reason they didn't launch in July, this is probably a big reason. This is probably a big part of that because they found out that they can't do it after that. So I'm sure Elon did not take that very well. And that guy probably doesn't work here anymore. But what happened after that is probably one of the greatest recoveries that ever could have happened. How did they fit these tanks in this space that they already had planned out? That is genius. That is supply chain management on another level. Like, these guys will have tanks. These tanks will be sitting in the Sanchez lot weeks before they show up. I'm responsible for capital supply chain management at my company, and I'm lucky if I can get things to show up to keep any of my deadlines. You know what I mean? The supply chain issues that are happening in this country are on another level right now, and SpaceX has managed to navigate that better than any other company on the planet. And I wish that they would explain to us what happened with this tank farm, because it's not embarrassing as much as it is a learning experience for everybody who's experiencing supply chain issues right now. How does SpaceX continue to do the things that they do while we're in the middle of a supply chain shortage? So airing your dirty laundry out in public, while it can create issues when you're in the middle of trying to get, government, regulatory approvals on things, I hope after all that stuff is over, they just come out and tell us yeah, this is what happened, because a lot of people can learn from that. Not just people who are trying to build rockets, but people who are trying to run companies, people who are trying to understand what it takes to get a team together to figure out a solution to a problem within the confined space that you have.
We've definitely seen it before where engineering can get ahead of the operations, and sometimes operations get ahead of the engineering. So it's definitely not a competition, but a awkward cooperation that happens there from time to time.
Thank you for interrupting me, because I don't want to get too philosophical on us. And honestly, it's all speculation. Like I said before, if Elon ever decides he wants to explain what happened out here, hopefully he comes to visit us to do that.
We should definitely keep looking at these pictures. Do you want to go over Booster 3 at all?
Yeah, I just got to check and see if Astrogen is messaging me telling me to breathe or not, because she always does that.
She is definitely thinking it right now.
I did good. Progress, people. Progress. So what else do we have here?
We have the 2 methane, and what's on top of the power station? Not the power station, the switching station up above. All the little tanks. Is that compressed air? Down to the right.
These?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna do that, huh? Set me up.
That's all you, sir.
It's not gonna be very thorough, but we'll at least touch on it. So,
no. Yeah, just touch.
So most of these are confirmed except for one of these tanks. So these tanks basically are meant to store very high pressure gas that's to be used inside of the launch mount. So you can kind of consider these COPVs that are taken off of the booster, to tell you the truth. Without these you would see roughly something at least half of the size on the booster in COPVs. The entire bottom of the booster would be covered in COPVs, period.
Really shows you why it's so important to offload that from stage 1 and put it on stage 0.
Exactly. Yep. Stage 0. This is why stage 0 is super important. This is why I personally don't care about any of the current vehicle developments, because those vehicle developments are made possible by this right here. So up top, and you guys are going to have to accept my word for this right now. These 2 tanks right here are gaseous methane stored at 400 bar. These 3 right here are gaseous nitrogen stored at 200 bar. This is helium, and this is gaseous oxygen stored at an unknown pressure, because by the time that Starship Gazer got a picture of it for me, and I am going to pause for this picture because I'm so grateful for him for getting it to me, they had already removed the sign.
Label.
Yeah, I was very upset when I saw that. We tried.
But all that
Um,
high pressure gas or liquid can be used to feed the Raptor engines and both start the spin up valve, which helium is great at that because of its expansion ratio, and it can be used to feed the engines to get them started with the pre-burners, and then they can swap over to the main supply that conserves the fuel in the ship for actual flight. Startup sequence on this beast is going to be impressive.
yeah, we're
To say
gonna
the
we're gonna
least.
get back into that. I guess I can talk about that while I'm looking for this. So basically, let's just go deep into it. Why don't we? So
Dive in.
your Raptor engine, your typical Raptor, and this is not a Raptor. It says Raptor, but is it? Kind of, but not really. This is just a Methalox engine cycle. This doesn't have to be. It's like I don't know if they meant to do this, if they're actually trying to say this is a Raptor or not, but that's not what this is. This is a Methalox engine cycle. The Raptor part of it is what is probably right here, honestly. The point of saying that is what is required in a Methalox engine cycle is this nitrogen purge, your liquid methane input, your gaseous methane ignition system, your gaseous methane out for your pressurization, your helium control valves, your helium spin-up valves, your helium spin-up valves for the oxidizer, your oxygen ignition, and your oxygen going back to pressurize your oxygen tank. Oh, let's not forget the liquid oxygen in. So
And we can
if
see all
you
of this.
yes, all of these things have to be provided by the booster in order to start the engine up. So, in your center engines that have the COPVs, all of this is contained. So, they probably have nitrogen. They don't need methane potentially because they're just going to use boil off or what do you want to call it? The ullage
Lich.
gas to do that potentially. Um, I don't know if that's a fact, but that they could do that. Or if not, then they have COPVs for gaseous methane, but I highly doubt they have that. They probably have a COPV for helium. They probably have a COPV for nitrogen. They probably pull oxygen also from the tank and vaporize it. And the rest of this doesn't really matter. That's just for thrust vector control.
And they do
So
have high pressure hydraulic units on the booster for the center engines. But yeah, that's separate from the actual operation of the rocket
right.
itself.
So with all of these things being supplied by the COPVs, this is what is on the Starship that starts those engines up. That's what those COPVs under the skirt are for. So if you were trying to remove the amount of COPVs that you need, then you got to remove everything that is startup related. Sorry, everything related to starting those engines up off of the booster and into the launch mount or stage 0. So what can you do? You can remove gaseous nitrogen. You can probably remove, sorry, you're going to remove anything ignition related. So ignition, methane, spin up, ignition, and then you have your nitrogen purge. That's 5. And the other one, the reason I say 6 right here is because they're pressurization out. And all of this has to do with the quick disconnects that are on the Raptor engines. We're going to slowly go through this. And I'm completely ignoring your guys' questions because I didn't expect to get into this topic, but here we are.
Making me happy though, so that's
I
all that matters.
really wanted to avoid this, to tell you the truth, but I'm having a good day. So, QT port max Q. He's going to be pretty fast with this. So you have the QD port on the side of the engines, and that allows you basically to insert the gases that are needed to start the Raptor boost max Q. That allows you to start up all of the outer engines using the launch table instead of using the vehicle. So like I said, you remove all of those COPVs off the side and you use the launch table to do it. So when we saw all of those cyclone tests on the launch mount, that's what they were testing, was those It's actually only 5 gases: nitrogen, methane, 2 helium, 1 oxygen. Supplied from, God, why does it keep closing out like this? Supplied from this rooftop. So those super high pressure gases that you saw coming out in a circle came from the roof of this building. For review: methane, nitrogen, helium, oxygen. That's what you need to start up a Raptor engine. So before the flight operations begin, you have oxygen, not methane. Methane, you're probably gonna put them through these vaporizers right here and fill up these tanks ASAP. So that's be the first thing that we see is these vaporizers get to work filling up all the COPVs. The liquid nitrogen will fill up the nitrogen COPVs. Your oxygen will fill up this one oxygen. They usually have a tanker here that's offloads into the helium. That'll be the first thing that we see when tank farm activity goes. And after that, you'll start seeing probably full system purge, followed by these reboilers filling up. Sorry, we're getting too deep into that. That's not necessary.
Yeah,
So
we can go.
yeah, I'm sorry. Basically,
Yeah.
like I said, these are the purpose of these is to start up the outer 20 engines, and that's the entire reason the roof of this building is here, other than to provide shelter for everything inside. So let's venture back into the comments and see how everybody's still doing here. Thank you, Astrogen. I did breathe. We have any questions? Is our question bot still working?
I think our question bot has been taken over by Jax, and I have not seen any questions coming through in a minute.
That is fine. That means people are either just listening or asleep. Let us know if you guys are still awake. Yes, Rocket, I'm missing her as well. So let's continue on. I think there's a few things over here at the...
And no, Jonathan, the live streams are not replacing the flyover videos. I believe Mauricio is still releasing those as he...
Wait, is he though?
Mauricio, are we replacing your flyover stream?
It depends, but not at this point. Not at this point. I still plan on releasing the flyover video. I know last video I haven't had a chance to do it just because I've been pretty busy, but we'll get them out there. Don't worry.
There you go. Yeah, we've been keeping Mauricio busy. Somebody asked a question, is for you, Mauricio, is there any impact from satellite photography? Think that might change the way you do business? Plan on owning a satellite at any point?
Like as far as a satellite taking photos of Starbase, is looking at it from that angle? Is that the question? Or?
I assume they meant that they were asking about your regular business for real estate.
Oh no, for my regular business, it's two different perspectives that, well, there's still aerial perspectives, but the satellite seems to be a little bit more flat versus I use for the most part, we use a drone to capture all the images from our day-to-day activities, real estate photography jobs that we have. Use a drone, it's more efficient. Now for the, I guess, like for example, for Starbase, I don't consider this a job, but for this we use a Cessna 172 and I was about to say, I'm planning on giving out a couple of memberships out to the comments. If anybody knows the tail number of our aircraft, whoever comments it down below, I can give you Patreon membership for 1 month. So I don't know if any.
There you go. Was the tail number of your Cessna 172 aircraft?
Right. And, make it more interesting. Whoever names the tail number of our Cessna 150, the one that we've been using for the initial flyovers, I'll give you guys a 1 month Patreon membership for see if anybody's commented anything yet. The people that have been following, they know the tail number. They follow us on Flight Radar. So yeah, that's basically. I mean, it's not, it shouldn't. Going back to the original question, it shouldn't affect. It shouldn't affect my business or in any way or form. The drone photography is way higher quality anyway. So
Agreed.
And let me say that satellite will never quite compare to aerial photography. And also, satellite photography is only updated. You'll know if you go to like Google's satellite imagery, it's years out of date. Mauricio's stuff, it was from this week. Just no comparison there.
I apologize. I was talking to people in the chat. Luckily, my
problem.
fingers are pretty quick. So I think this just about wraps up this area. I think there's still a few things that are outstanding punch list items out here for SpaceX employees.
Look,
I
yeah. A
was
couple of
just cycling through
questions
these, sorry.
too. Have we seen any hardware for autogeneous pressurization yet? And I would
Clutch.
answer that yes. If you look on the side of the booster, it has autogeneous pressurization lines running from the bottom all the way up to the oxygen and the methane tanks.
I think I have a. Oof.
And I lost the
We
question.
have
Oh,
the 900 megapixel
oh, if you want to go
booster
over that,
shot.
I would
I
love
just
it.
don't know where it went. That's what I get for opening up random things as we're all sitting here going through
You're
rabbit holes
doing
together.
that. Here's an
Yep.
easy question. The COPVs only for
good.
in-flight starting, ground starting using the QD ports.
Yes.
And yes, Stephanie, the COPVs, and they only start the center engines. Outer 20 engines can only be started on the ground. The inner 9 or 13 can be restarted using the COPVs.
Yeah.
So,
They basically have the option, which they won't do for a long time, in my opinion, to launch without functioning engines. Like their outer 20 engines, they're going to know whether or not they're working beforehand. Like part of the reason that you're having the launch table start up those engines is because, as you guys have noticed, like over the last few weeks, all the random pops and explosions that have been happening during various live streams, that is them testing the igniters on the outer 20 engines. They don't have to shut the road down to do that because it's not, they don't have to pressurize the booster in order to do it. So not pressurize, sorry, fill the booster up with propellants in order to do it. So they can use
right.
the actual stage 0 itself to test that stuff broad daylight while Jessica's standing on the side of the road, or Starship Gazer, and that's like major change from I think what a lot of people would be expecting.
And former rockets use this material called T-tap that's highly explosive to launch or to light to ignite the engines. And real quick, shout out to one RGV for stitching and this together and for photographing it. And
I
shout
don't
out
think
to
he stitched
Proc.
it. I think it was Jack's, or sorry, Mr. Pleasant. No, it wasn't Mr. Pleasant. Who stitched this together? Actually, Mauricio, you
no,
did stitch this one together, didn't you?
no. Where I have someone that helps me out with these. His name is Mr. Pleasant. He's on Discord.
Yeah, I was right. I knew it was him.
We're right. Well, thank you, Mauricio,
Hey.
for taking the picture. And also Procky for adding all of these great labels hailing from the Czech. And yeah, we can't thank you enough, Procky. A great member of the team. All right, what are we looking at here? Is the
yeah, so we're looking at the bottom of the booster right here before they put it on the launch mount for the first time, or third time.
taking it all?
So they covered it up again. They covered up the quick disconnects for us this time so that we weren't able to properly see them. But you can see the outside of the booster. There is additional skirt action that's going to happen on these, which has not taken place yet, surprisingly. And one thing that we are currently speculating on, but I'll give a special shout out to Ryan S. Because he was the one who pointed this out to me, is these sensors on the side of the booster, the COPV tank. And we haven't fully figured this one out yet, but maybe somebody watching will know what kind of sensor this is. But basically, the speculation is potentially that this right here, which actually, as you can see, is directly below the load points of the booster, This could be related to, I mean, this would be one of the first things that a sensor on the chopstick sees that is able to send a signal back to it. So
A
the
little
engines aren't
radar
going to be sending
beacon.
any signals, period. So this is basically the first thing that could be sending out a signal from bottom up.
And here I am. Catch me.
If boom, you pass by the sensor, this sends out the signal. Whatever it is, it could be. It's probably not ultrasonic because the booster is going to be so loud. It could be laser. Could be
Radar, microwave.
Yeah, if they like to launch in the fog, so it better not be using regular, light waves. But either way, if this is, and like I said, this could be wrong, but this looks to me like something that, first of all, you have these open panels on the side, which they probably have to reach in to connect all the cables to the back of the sensor that's on this. And there's additional ones on the other underside of this. But I do believe, Ryan, that this actually could be related to telling Mechazilla that it's time to grab hold.
To catch a booster. And that case right there, that's the hydraulic power unit.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I'm getting better at not zooming in and out, but excuse me on that one.
And here you have the booster quick disconnect panel. And that panel has the main oxygen and methane entry points. It's got gaseous pressurization from the ground supply. And
Methane reclamation.
Yep. There's also been a lot of action this week on the quick disc. The other side of this that plugs into that, the quick disconnect cover on the table has finally been built and mostly shielded. So a lot of action happening there around Boca Chica.
Yeah, if you guys are living under a rock and haven't seen it yet, then follow either Lab Padre or me on Twitter, and you can see the pictures from I think it was a video from yesterday. Was it this morning? The days are just blending together at this point. Of them doing the full speed test with the countdown on the quick disconnect. It was actually really cool. Whose man's is that? Why did you draw that by hand? Crocky, I didn't know in the comment. Where's he at?
No, I think Procky mentioned on Twitter that he based that off of Starhopper. They had one of those on Starhopper at one time to show the scale.
Mm.
It's not a silhouette of you, Mauricio. Is that what we're hearing?
That left arm looks kind of deformed. That's not me.
The right one looks super strong, so we'll assume it's you.
This left leg though.
More interestingly, the pipes running up. You'll see that.
Oh, that's why we're here, right? Autogenous
Yeah.
pressurization lines. Thank you for bringing us back on subject, GPJ.
That's what I'm here for.
Oh God,
Cats.
I did not do that last Zoom. Sorry. Well, here we are.
So the rockets, as they're burning fuel, also produce high pressure gaseous oxygen. And they take that oxygen and pump it right back into the tank to keep pressurization. Operating pressurization, we think, is around 4 bar, might be up to 6 bar is the proposed maximum, but the tanks should be rated up to, I've heard, almost 8 bar. So somewhere between 4 and 6 operating pressure, but as the engine burns the fuel, it produces high pressure oxygen that they then shove back in the tank. And they're also using that. If you scroll up just a little bit for me, Golden Boy.
Yes.
They're using that as ullage to act as a thrust. So these are the LOX pressure release valves, but they are planning in the future on having reaction controls further up use this high pressure gas in the tank to steer the vehicle in space or even possibly down lower a little bit.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see that. Wow, we have almost exactly the amount of likes as we have people watching right now. That's amazing. Thank you guys for being such great supporters. I feel like, you know, all this is a learning experience for all of us involved. Like we do a lot of this stuff in the background where we talk about these kind of things, and we just really wanted to bring it to you guys, and we're glad that you guys are, you know, enjoying it, and hopefully we continue to like step up our presentation. We have, you know, clearly Procky putting these together in the background. We have Mr. Pleasant putting together the stitched images. We have, like I said, a massive production team just organizing everything for us. People, you know, gathering photos for us when we need them. So, you know, we're really trying to improve on what we do every single week, and you know, we're definitely open to suggestions. So if you guys like have ideas for things that you want to see, please leave them in the comments. Like I said, you can follow all of us on Twitter, and all of us accept DMs except for GBJ. Just kidding. I don't know. Do you accept DMs?
Oh, absolutely. I'll answer all of them as soon as I can.
Yeah, they Twitter actually just asked me if I was willing to accept them earlier today. I was like, "How did you know I was going to say that?" It was, yeah, stalkers. So yeah, I mean, we all like to talk to people even within the comments of posts that we do. So, you know, our goal is basically to create a community. You know what I mean? There already really is a community, but you know, we just want to like bring everything together essentially. So we're glad that you guys are able to be here with us, and we should continue. Should we get on some ground picks?
Yeah, but one more thing before we go. Discord. I just want to mention, as a big part of the community, we have the RGV Discord, and as well as the CSI Starbase Discord and others. But there
Yeah.
are a number of communities working together in space, and just want to say, hey, everybody, you know, if you can, please join the RGV Discord, and you know, we'd love to have you there just to talk to you on a regular basis, with in text and in voice chat, and yeah, it's a
Yeah,
great
and let's not
community.
forget the La Padre Discord as well too, because I mean, honestly, that's kind of where I got started with, you know, just being as involved with most of the stuff that I am. Thanks to Thomas, most of you guys have like heard him in a lot of live streams, and just the La Padre live stream crew. So shout out to them. But we do this stuff. I mean, you guys are doing it with us on Saturday, but we do this every single day on Discord. So if you guys want to become part of the conversation, then hop on Discord, either within the Live Padre server or RGV Aerial. And yes, I do honestly have my own, but like I really try and keep it to a production team who's like able to get you guys things as quickly as possible. So, you know, I'm not really in it for, and there's nothing wrong with this, but I'm just not in it for that stuff. So I like to, you know, keep my team small and you know, get this content out to you guys as quickly as possible. So that's what I personally use Discord for. But you guys should get on Live Padre and RGV, and we're also all present on there. So if you guys want to interact with us more, definitely hop on there. And you know, we'll see you there.
All right, you want to
Should
do
we hop on some ground photos?
Let's hop on some ground photos.
That's my RGV ground drill.
Oh, and just as fate would have it, if we're to keep with our 2 hour, 50-minute, and 29-second limit, then we have about 9 minutes left.
I think we'll let the audience decide that. Just kidding. Then they'll take over our lives and force us to do live streams on Monday mornings and stuff. Let's see. We're going to ground shots. Welcome to Starbase.
By the way, been there in person, and oh my God, that sign is so beautiful. And Mauricio, your photography is great. I really appreciate how good you are with the camera, man.
Thank you,
It's
Grandpa
a great
Joel.
picture.
Right. There's, you know, I don't want to, you know, I want to give out some shout outs here to some photographers that are by far way better than me. You know, I don't know if you guys heard him or talked to him, Carlos Nunez. He takes he's a local to the Brownsville area, I believe. And he takes amazing photography of Starbase. I think at one point, Elon had his photo as his wallpaper on his phone. I think somebody got a shot of that. And that's just, you know, that's pretty cool, you know. I don't know if anybody can link.
Yeah, you know, I actually spend a lot of time updating Thomas on things that are happening within Starbase because he like only looks at Carlos Nunez pictures. He's like so obsessed with them. I'm pretty sure that the amount of money that I spend at Chipotle, like Thomas would spend that same money on Carlos pictures if he was offering them up for the same amount, $10 per photo.
Oh,
You know,
Carlos's photos are
beautiful. He
amazing.
really does focus on like the
beauty.
yeah, exactly.
And I've had the great opportunity to meet Carlos several times, and I think I've even watched a rocket launch or two with him. And yeah, it's been wonderful.
Yeah, I think every photographer down there like has something that they specialize in. I think for people who like to get really deep into like understanding what's going on down there, then like Starship Gazer tends to like pay attention. He like first of all, we talk regularly, so he's like always aware of things that are going on down there, and he also just naturally knows himself due to his own experience, like what to look for. I mean, he's been to over 35 launches.
Wow.
Yeah, if you ever go on his YouTube page, like actually look at his old stuff, he's been to close to 35 launches, and he has almost, I'm not gonna say almost all of them, but he has a bunch of them on there. Like having photographers like that who like are really into it and are really down here for those reasons, the right reasons, is great for everybody who cares about it as much as we do. So I hope everybody goes and supports people like that. And I also want to give a special shout out to Jessica. Like she does amazing live streams and like gets literally smarter every single day, and educates her audience extremely well. And we need more people out here doing the same thing that we're doing. Same thing to everybody who's on YouTube, Marcus House, Felix, everybody. So we're just glad to be part of Team Space. And like I said, we hope you guys are really enjoying this as we're gonna swap into ground mode. Do you want to start us off, GPJ? Actually, let's move into a good area really quick.
Booster 4 lift, Starship 20, quick disconnect. Oh yeah. Oh, here we have the new table booster quick disconnect. As a rocket lifts off, it produces a tremendous amount of force, heat, gas, pressure, sound, and though it's not extremely delicate, the pipes behind it are. That quick disconnect right there needs to be shielded. So this giant Mechazilla-looking contraption surrounding the quick disconnect is there to protect it, and it actually swings out of the way. The quick disconnect, true to its name, quickly disconnects from the booster, and then retracts into its house. And the front, the thing on the top that shields it swings down rapidly, all in one smooth motion, and protects the quick disconnect from the full blast of the booster.
I'm sure most people have seen this by now, hopefully. But should we just show them the full speed test really quick or not?
Yeah, please. I'd love to see it again.
Oh man, okay. Let me
Max Q when we need them.
No, I have it. I'm gonna leave the volume off because no, let's do surround sound. I'll pull it through my mic. It's not very professional, but it'll do the job. Oh God, let's not do that. Sorry, guys. That was a mistake. So if you guys go watch this, first of all, shout out to Jeff for putting this together. If any of you guys ever see these style videos on my profile, it's all from Jeff because I just don't have time. But I really want to like put more stuff out like this. But again, what we're seeing here is a full speed test of this BQD. This is them basically as the booster disconnects. I'm gonna frame by frame it here. So as the launch sequence gets down to 0, they want to keep it pressurized the entire time because that's very important to keeping the booster stable, especially when you have as much propellant in the Starship and the methane tank as you do. So you want to be able to maintain all those systems. So you hold it all the way to the last minute because you also don't want to have to vent off methane. So this handles the methane bleed off that you're going to experience. So it has to maintain connected all the way to the end. So that's why this release actually has to be relatively quick. So you can see that it shuts very, very fast. I think it's time for a full speed test on the Mechazilla. Matter of fact, I'll say the chopsticks actually. I think this should be part of Mechazilla because this entire launch system, stage 0, is the most complex launch. I mean, maybe I just am not educated enough in other launch systems to be able to say, yeah, no, Ariane 5, pretty special. While amazing rockets, I don't think anything else is touching this launch system, period.
No, not even close. Other launch systems seem to just be a stand to hold it up, whereas this
Like, what?
thing, I mean, this thing has so much built into it. They have poured so much time, resources, and engineering. And beyond just the quick disconnect, the table itself is a marvel, rivaling the rocket. It's incredible the amount of work that they've put into just, pressurizing all dozens, if not hundreds of
Right.
lines. Yeah.
And I want to start a rumor because I don't mind doing that. I think that what I was told recently is that, and this is not from like an inside source or anything, I just don't remember where I saw it, that NASA coverage of any NASA launch requires them to have access to at least 20 cameras. Somebody confirm that, Max Q. I think it was you who told me that. So we have 1, 2, 3, just right here, right? All on the quick disconnect. There are cameras inside the quick disconnect, or next to the quick disconnects inside the launch mount. There's, we don't even have to move away. Let's see if there's one right here. No.
Oh, yeah, we could. I've been down at Starbase, and I can tell you just from the security guards hut, they have 20 cameras just on that.
Let's just talk about stage 0 cameras. I mean, there's just so many of them. They're pretty much. Oh, here we go. 1, 2, 3 cameras. And that's just on the bottom of the. I'm sorry, guys. I know I'm probably clicking through those very fast because I wanted to get here. So there's cameras all over the structure. I don't think there's any on the ends.
Wow, look at that photo.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I know the engineering's amazing, but wow, look at that photo.
I'll move through it slower. I always get upset when people pan through things quickly.
I had a question for you guys here. When do you guys expect for the chopsticks to be used to lift Starship onto the booster?
Ooh,
Um,
2 weeks.
yeah. As soon as those, I honestly got really excited today because I thought that Marvin, the crane, was gonna go take Starship 20 off the launch mount first. That would have been exciting. Like if he went to take Starship 20 off first and then went directly to Booster 3, that would have meant that Mechazilla full stack is imminent, because that's the only reason you would do things in that order of operations. Because you need to get Starship 20 on the ground ASAP in order to start putting its thermal shields back on from the lift points. So until they do that, then we shouldn't be expecting a full stack. And I personally think that there's a ton of work left to do on water deluge and other things that are better off without a booster on the launch mount. But that's just my opinion. Again, I found one. Another camera right here. So over the last few months, I think I've counted well over 100 cameras. Well over 100 cameras. I wouldn't be surprised if it's approaching 200. They're everywhere. So with that being said, if the rumor is true that NASA gets to choose or gets to have footage from 20 of these cameras for the launches, then I don't know. Maybe they should let us choose at least 10 of them.
Absolutely.
I will take. Let's see what I want.
The one on the end of the chopsticks. That'll be my favorite.
That is a good one, especially during the launch. Actually, that would be a very good one to have. Let's go to the cutie arm. Oh, you're gonna go all the way up to the top of the tower, huh, Mauricio? I'm gonna read your mind. Yep. Oh wow, wrong. So, camera. I want that one. NASA, thank you. I will take this one right here, which monitors the ship quick disconnect. I like that one. I think we'll take it. I don't know if I'm gonna go for any more on the SQD though, honestly. Unless there was one in this area, I don't think it's there. I can't remember where it is.
Of cameras.
Oh, did I already say this one right here? There's another one. Another one.
And what we're looking at there is the quick disconnect and ship stabilizer of the Mechazilla Tower.
Another one.
And cameras.
They got cameras everywhere. And yeah, we just want to choose half of them. Come on, guys. Taxpayer dollars, mind you, that are putting you guys all into space. So you at least should let us choose half of them, right? Come on.
Just for that launch, maybe.
Yeah.
So the scaffolding
I'll do the poll for you guys. Like, I got it.
So one big indicator is going to be the scaffolding coming down. They made a lot of good progress on that in the last week. And as that scaffolding continues to come off, the chopsticks will be able to raise further, and that'll allow us to pick up the booster and the ship. So it could be as soon as maybe 2 weeks. They may wait for another ship to do it. I'm not a mind reader, but just taking an educated guess.
Yeah, there's Max Q actually just pointed out there's a lot of cameras inside of the carriage arms as well. Let's go back down. Skirt. Wow. If you guys like to watch people rollerblade, I want that camera as the landing's happening. NASA, that's number 4. I want that camera right there that's looking at this skate. Oh, wait. This one might catch a view of whatever's below. Cancel that one. We're going to use this one instead. This one, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that one. There's a few more good ones. Max Q, where are the rest of them at? I think hold on, I just want to make sure we're, sorry guys, I got obsessed with these cameras for a little bit because I really want NASA to give us that opportunity. I think we're approaching the end of our stream, right?
Oh yeah, we got maybe 4 minutes left.
Let's see what we can do in 4 minutes.
Philip Metchen asked, is that all there will be for the ship QD? It looks really floppy and unsupported. And I'll also throw a shout out to Mr. Philip there. He was there for, I believe, the launch of SN 8 or 15 with us. So yeah, we hung out back in the good old days. So right at the top of the quick disconnect and the ship stabilizer, or right on top of the ship stabilizer is the quick disconnect, and it is
Right here.
It looks a little flimsy, but it just needs to be connected. It'll latch
Mauricio,
on.
did you have a front view of this? I haven't seen the rest of the ground shots. If I go further, is there a front view?
Yes, there is.
Okay, let me grab it.
There we go. Yeah, it has all that those guiding pins and the stainless steel backing, so I think it's strong enough. I think it'll make it. Also, it swings away rather quickly whenever the time comes.
So many cameras.
Do you guys expect there to be a hood just like on the booster QD, just because it's gonna swing away, but some stuff might still be exposed?
Yes and no. I mean, I personally think everything up here should be covered up. You have all this, and I mean, this is kind of high up in the air, right? But like you have wind blowing up off of the ocean that's blowing all these, saltwater air. Like, and these are braided. Oof, these are braided flex tubes, right? So if you get any moisture underneath them, they'll potentially corrode. Sorry, I hesitate because I'm not sure if these are if they're made of a material that's even able to corrode. But either way, you want to protect all that stuff. You don't want things getting in there. You don't want birds making nests underneath there. In my opinion, all of that needs to be covered up. I would not be surprised if they put metal plates over this entire if all of it. This is why I talk about the cover up so often, because I fully expect at some point that all of this stuff will be covered up.
And let's also remember it is fairly high up, and it should disconnect right before launch, but it should swing far out of the way, so it hopefully will be out of the blast zone whenever the ship takes off.
Yeah, it will swing way out of the way. I think I'm not gonna find it right now. I don't want to do it. Somebody actually captured while the ship or the Mechazilla arms were being tested, the booster quick disconnect or the ship disconnect was also being moved away from the tower last night. And no, I'm not going on another rabbit hole, Max Q.
Well,
Say it to my face.
Well, we're at the 3-hour mark, guys.
We
and,
are.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think,
let's
I could go for another hour easy.
or 2 or 3 days a week.
I know, right? So, your show, you're ready to call it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Unless,
All right.
I mean, one thing I do want to say, maybe we should think about doing this a little bit more often, maybe throughout the week. I don't know what people think. Maybe you can leave us a comment below. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you see on the next one.
I
Maybe
say if
when
we
you-
get past 20,000 views on the next one, then we'll talk about doing 2 a week. Until
There we
then,
go.
we're just gonna bunch all of it in 3 hours, even though we could literally I could not even lie. I mean, I saw Thomas do a 15-hour live stream the other day, like a few months ago. Like, we just talk for days and we can go down these rabbit holes for hours and weeks, honestly. Like, to learn to really like get an understanding of all this stuff, for me, it took like a year and a half. I could if SpaceX shut down today, I could still talk about all of this for 9 months and still have more
I'll
stuff
be
to
caught
cover.
up. Yeah.
It's insane the amount of stuff going down here. So, we try and stay
Good.
current with everything and talk about most of the current stuff. But like, if you guys also want to get into like the previous things that led up to where we're at now, like we can easily do that. So just let us know in the comments if that's what you guys like, and we'll try and accommodate. But in the meantime, thank you guys for being here. Mauricio, did you want to?
Oh, thanks everybody for joining us. This is episode 3. I think we're improving on the quality of the streams. If you guys have any suggestions on what you guys would want us to improve on, or any feedback whatsoever, we're more than welcome to hear that from you guys. And I'll pass it on to Zach. Again, thanks guys for joining us today.
Yeah, this is volleyball, so I'm gonna hit up more time for GPJ.
Absolutely. One last final shout out to the production team. Thank you so much, guys. And to everyone watching, if you could, please subscribe to RGV's YouTube channel. Follow us all on Twitter, and our information is at the bottom of the screen. And if you could, please consider donating to RGV's Patreon and subscribing to YouTube. There is a paid membership through YouTube as well, though Patreon is a little bit more forgiving in terms. But all of your donations go towards Mauricio continuing to fly, taking these ground photos, and your donations go to providing you more content, and just can't tell you how valuable that is to the whole community. So big shout out and thank you to all the Patreons and YouTube members. And, you guys really are the backbone here that help keep this ship afloat. So thank you all, and please consider joining. And Golden Boy, back to you.
Oh no,
Let you
I think
close
you
us
just
out.
ended the stream, sir. I'm just
All
kidding.
right.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Like I said, feel free to follow us on Twitter, Discord, all that other stuff. We're super social. We like to talk to everybody, and just really, sometimes I do a little bit of stalking on the live stream chats, all of them, just see what people are interested in, and that's kind of what I tend to base my posts on during the week. So yeah, keep talking in the chats, whether you think I'm there or not. I usually see that stuff and I try to respond. But also, if you guys, like I said, respond to us on Twitter, we're all trying to address everything that you guys say to us and respond to everything and tailor things to the way that you guys like to see them. So, yeah, with that, I think we're gonna wrap it up. And yeah, thank you guys for being here. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you. Have a great
Thank
week.
you. Thank you. Take care. Bye.